Hello,
Hey,
and
hey.
welcome to Hold Up, a Movie Podcast, where last time we reported on films about puff pieces, ambulance chasers, and exposés. Tonight we turn our attention to the naked canvas of television. We tune into networks large and small, surfing the boob tube and clicking through the channels. We've got satellite views as well as hard hitting news. It's gonna be a good night. Wish us good luck. Tonight's theme is television. How's it going, Murphy? I am your host,
Good,
Davan
good.
Skelhorn, and with me, as always, Chris Worldmind Murphy.
How's it now, fella? I am very excited to talk about these movies because the first movie we're talking about is one of my all-time favorites, and it's a movie I watch every year, seemingly around my birthday, which is tomorrow, which makes today's episode a Birthday Boys episode because yesterday my lovely co-host here was his birthday. And he was drunk
The
as a
day before,
skunk on
actually, but
X rated.
it was basically yesterday because yesterday is when I got drunk on my other podcast. My God, I asked a
um,
question to the ex goons. At which point did the whiskey start hosting the show instead of me?
so tomorrow's my
There was a
birthday.
point. There's a point when that definitely transition definitely happens.
The whiskey took over.
Oh, it snuck up on me, man. I was like, I've been sick for days, and I'm getting older, and my I've noticed my tolerance isn't what it used to be, just from
You
age,
can't
and then
you
being
can't
sick.
do it as much anymore.
Oh no, man! Like Andre was going drink for drink with me, and he was fine. Anyway,
Well,
I didn't
to
remember
be fair,
anything.
he's a
I woke
much
up the
bigger
next
boy
day.
than you.
It's true, but I had a legendary tolerance and stomach at one point in my life. But
Oh, I know. I've been there, sir. We've had many a
yeah,
kitchen parties, you and I.
true. That's true. We have
But yeah, I
before
got
Murphy
I got
left the
myself a
homeland.
hazy, got myself a hazy for the birthday. So,
Oh, I'm drinking tea tonight.
oh, fair enough. That's fair.
I got the
I'm
culprit right
playing.
here, but
Maybe a little
we'll see what
cat,
happens.
little hair of the dog that bit you. Maybe.
We might. God, I shouldn't, but we
Uh,
might. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
truth.
Tonight we're talking about television, and I'm perfectly sober. So it's not my birthday anymore. But happy birthday to you, buddy. And look
Thanks,
forward
buddy.
to
Thank
seeing
you.
you
Happy
here in the
birthday to you.
next week or two, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll actually be there this weekend. I'll be
Oh, nice.
flying in Saturday. I should be there by the afternoon, give or take, and I'll be in town until Tuesday, the 28th, I believe. Yeah. So I'll be around on the weekend. We can either chill Saturday or Sunday night. Um,
Cool. We're
yeah,
gonna
hopefully
we're gonna
before
have
there's a
dinner
storm
with
coming.
Andre.
So yeah, let's do it. Dinner with
All
Andre.
right. Yes, this is season one, episode 11 of, of our lovely podcast here. And yes, we're talking about television. Uh, I'm looking forward to this episode for entirely different reasons than Murphy. I'll tell you that right now. I'm going to save it. But
That's fair.
there were two good movies here. Um,
You know what? You're right. There were two good movies here. There were
I
two
had a
good
feeling
movies
you'd say
here.
that. I had a feeling we might have a disagreement there.
You know what? This is how I feel about this. We picked basically the same movie to a degree, except mine was the Lego version and yours was the Mega Bloks version.
No, the other way
Okay.
around. Mine had
I knew you
actors.
would say
Yours had
that
Weird
too.
Al.
I knew you say that too. No,
Well,
sir.
it's true.
Weird Al came before this, and I'm telling you that I've watched that
Sure, it
movie
came out
yearly.
before, but then actors took a similar idea and writers and made a movie. Um,
No,
let's
there's so many more quotable and enjoyable lines than UHF. There was one
none.
joke in all of fucking Stay Tuned that actually made me laugh. One joke. So,
Well, I mean, it's
we'll
not.
get into that.
We'll get into that. It's not trying to be a straight up comedy like UHF though. Stay tuned has like actiony elements. It has dramatic elements. It's just trying to be like a fun.
It, it was too many
Anyway,
cooks in the kitchen. It was every popular idea at once that was going on in 1991 and they're like, "Well, we can
pretty
make a movie out
much.
of this."
It was the
You know.
Zeitgeist movie, that's for sure.
It was. It
Um,
was. It was very jam full of barely any direction. and we'll get to that. But right now, we
Anyway,
got Theater One to talk
Theater
about, don't
one,
we?
we have UHF from 1989, starring Weird Al Yankovic, if you can call it starring, Michael Richards, Victoria Jackson, and Fran Drescher, who, see, I like Fran Drescher, and of course I love Kramer from Seinfeld, but, you know, they didn't give Fran Drescher a lot to do. Gave Michael Richards a lot to do, but anyway, we'll talk about that.
And I believe it's directed by Dan Levy.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, Jay Levy.
Jay Levy. Jay Levy, sorry. I watched this
Jay
movie a million
Levy.
times. I should know that, but I
You were
just
thinking
forgot to
of
talk about
Schitt's
that.
Creek because Eugene
I
Levy's in our
was.
second movie.
I was a little bit, yeah.
Another
Yeah, it was
reason it's
cracking up.
better than UHF. Another great actor, friggin' comedic actor.
We'll get into that. Let's get into
All right.
UHF. Here's the trailer.
All right.
Let's
Coming
get
all
one
the
thing
way from
straight.
the moon of
Guns
Orion.
don't kill people. I do.
Channel 62 has the lowest ratings in the history
It's
of
not a
television.
quote from this
What they
movie,
need
though,
is a new
Murphy.
station
That was
manager.
already in the world before this movie.
A man of action.
Oh, I don't like
man
Weird
of
Al,
courage.
and this didn't convince me otherwise.
A man of vision.
What's
He's not funny. He's like somebody who's trying to be funny and therefore isn't.
What they
funny.
get is a man so desperate, he'll put anyone on the
Just
air.
spitting in
Hey,
his
Stanley.
Yeah, George.
See,
How'd
that
you
was
like
the
your
one
own
part
TV
that
show?
gave me a chuckle when the kids. did.
Okay. You get to drink from the fire hose. Okay, ready? Open wide.
He's Conan, the librarian.
Today we're teaching poodles how to fly.
We beat out the networks.
George Newman. He starts where the others stop.
We're the #1 station in town.
Orion Pictures presents Weird Al Yankovic in UHF.
Oh yeah, I didn't need the Weird Al music video in the middle of the movie either, because I
I
don't like
didn't
Weird
need a
Al's
salt
music.
and pepper music video in the middle of Stay Tuned either, but
That
that's the
scene is
trade-off
hilarious.
that we got.
And Salt and
I
Pepper
will admit
are
it was
better musicians
somewhat
than Weird Al
funnier.
Yankovic. See, again,
Ah,
same point.
no.
My movie had actors and real musicians. Yours had Weird Al.
Are you trying to tell me Weird Al isn't a real musician?
No, he's a musician. He's not an actor.
He's
And
a
he's
great
not
actor.
He's not like
been in many
a
films.
virtuoso musician. He's sort of like a gag musician. He's not a high level musician. Let's put it that way.
I would disagree with that. He's actually a fantastic musician. He puts on a wonderful live show, and he has
Could be.
many original
I've never seen him live.
songs. Oh, okay. Well, then that's what you're missing. I've seen him live. In fact, he was the very first live musician I've ever seen.
Oh, so you have tons of bias here.
I have tons of nostalgia and bias towards Weird Al Yankovic, as
Okay.
anyone of my age
Now it all makes
should,
sense to
because
me.
He
No.
was the man that created the Jurassic Park song, and there's so much like wonderful comedic genius in what he does. He is such a brilliant
it's
man
not, it's just
that he
low-hanging
created
fruit.
a genre of music, an entire genre of music.
There were
Probably
gag
one of the
songs
last
and
musicians to
fake
do
covers
that.
before Weird Al.
But
He's the
Weird
first
Al
person
is
to
the
make a
one
career off
known
it.
for do it. And
Yeah, because he made a career
He's
off it.
made that genre.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like again, it's not a genre I enjoy. I like music,
that's
not
fair.
gag music. It's like it just feels like a downgrade. Like I could listen to top flight musicians, and my musical tastes aren't particularly popular. It's like classical music and jazz, and the high level musicians is kind of what I listen to. So when I hear something like Weird Al, it's just like it kind of just gets to me a little. I'd rather hear like a great singer in like a great original song. Anyway, that's why his music never really worked for me. And this is just like the same thing. Like, I think about Weird Al is it's just low hanging fruit. Like, if anyone were to try to rewrite the words to Gangsta's Paradise, they would have came up with the exact same lyrics he did, because it's all just obvious and low hanging fruit. And I think that's why people enjoy it. Like, they expect that from him. And like so it's like approachable in that way.
Okay, if it's
But
such low-hanging fruit, then you, sir, come back to me next week with a 1-minute parody song.
okay, I could do it in 10 minutes.
That's fantastic.
I'm not going to do it right now in the middle of a podcast while we're trying to talk about a movie.
I
but
know. That's why I said come back to me with it next week, or
Yeah.
next episode.
We can do
You
that.
can open the show with it if you want.
All right.
Anyway,
next time.
let's get into this a little bit. So the movie opens with our character George Newman, played by Weird Al Yankovic. He's a daydreamer and a daydreamer at that. This movie opens up with such an interesting and obvious homage to Weird Al Yankovic, but
To Indiana Jones, you mean?
Indiana Jones. I mean, homage to Indiana Jones in a Weird Al Yankovic sort of way. He's got the character that like tries to hit him with the gun and he whips his arm off completely. He goes through a series of signs and tunnels to get to an Oscar-like statue, which, fun fact, they obviously couldn't get the actual rights to use the Oscar, so they made one that just kind of covers its groin as opposed to holding a sword or anything like that.
I didn't notice that. That's actually kind of funny.
He does the whole weighing of the sand bit here where he's like, gonna balance out and he just says, fuck it, and throws it. And it's just like another, like, the beauty of this movie is, especially if you've never seen it, is the subversion of jokes, right? It's a lot of
I thought that was
left-field
obvious
jokes.
too.
I mean,
this
you
scene,
think
I
a lot of
didn't
things
like
are
this
obvious
scene.
in a lot of shows. But yeah,
Well,
the boulder
You
chasing
see
him
enough
is
content. It's like,
the boulder
things get
chasing
less
him across
surprising.
the country through like
Yeah,
the still
like-
backgrounds. We go through Canada. It looks like a street downtown Detroit or something, only to get paved over and turned into a beefsteak. And that's when we get met with the real George Newman, who's clearly fuzzed out daydreaming and cooking beef on his job of flipping burgers at Edna's Big Burger World. And he has his roommate and best friend Bob, who's played by David Bow, just sort of shocking him and waking him up into the world. And being like, if you don't do your job, we're not gonna be around here long. Where George Newman berates Bob and he's like, am I supposed to be afraid of big old Edna? Which she's behind him and chucks them out on their ass. Leading us to
here's
one of my
another.
favorite-
Okay, I got to cut you off here.
Okay.
The problem with this movie is every character in it is so goddamn annoying. Like it's actually grating to listen to this movie. Like the character who they're about to show, I think Getty Watanabe's character, is just
Yes.
an absurd, annoying stereotype. It's absurd, and it's incredibly annoying. Weird Al's character is annoying. Michael Richards is doing like this half Jerry Lewis when Jerry Lewis would pretend to be like handicapped and like make fun of like mentally challenged people, and like he's basically just doing that. So like I found Michael Richards' whole performance quite offensive, quite frankly, and not funny, because Jerry Lewis is also not funny. Like I found
there
were just
movie is like a spoof character that was made in the late '80s, right? Like these are very at the time.
His performance isn't like an obvious critique or spoof of Jerry Lewis. He's just trying to do a Jerry Lewis like performance.
Yeah,
like with
for
the
the
big
most
teeth and
part,
everything.
yeah.
Jerry used to put those in too. Like I just saw, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, oh my god, are they having Michael Richards play Jerry Lewis? And yes, they are. Like bad decisions across the board. This movie
I
is
don't
so
say Stanley
annoying.
Spadowski is entirely a Jerry Lewis. I would say he's just
He's Jerry Lewis.
He's a guy that loves his mop, man. And I don't know, you got to be such a.
Oh, but go watch
rhythm.
some old Jerry Lewis. You'll see that it's almost exact. It's him doing Jerry Lewis.
We're gonna move in here. So we get introduces to George's and Bob's living quarters. George's making himself some hot dog Twinkies with cheese whiz, trying to feed Bob. Apparently, through this scene, which when he gets to check the time, the fist goes through the wall. But apparently, through this scene, Weird Al Yankovic had to eat 7 of these hot dog Twinkie things while filming this. And that, after doing that, made him a vegetarian. He stopped eating meat after this. But yeah, anyway, so he's talking to Bob, and Bob's pretty busted about the fact that they've lost yet another job among the many
Like, see
jobs
what
that they go through.
that still frame you have right there? That's not funny. Like, I feel like Weird Al is like a 4-year-old trying to appeal to 4-year-olds with his humor. Like, none of it. I don't get it. Like, that's what same that I get with Michael Richards's performance in this too. It's just like, who are you? Are you trying to make adults laugh with this movie? Because it's a huge failure. Now, I understand that you enjoyed it from a child, and that makes sense. As a kid, I probably would have liked this movie too. And same with Stay Tuned, wasn't as good as I remembered. It's better than this by
I'm
a
gonna,
lot because it's got
I'm not
real
gonna lie,
actors, but
like
Stay Tuned wasn't as good as I remembered.
this is a dated film at its finest, but it's also such a like a beloved pop culture like egg of time and just
Is
hilarity
it?
that
Because no one really has ever mentioned this movie or anything about it to me in my entire life.
that is bullshit. You literally
It's
had
not bullshit.
Andre telling you about this movie on X rated and how much he
Only
loved
once I
this
told
film.
him we were
And he
covering it on this
quoted,
show.
yeah, and he's like, I love that
I'm
film,
just
and then he
saying,
proceeded to quote
unprompted,
it.
no one has ever quoted or mentioned this movie to me. Like, for my generation,
But
I'm a few years
that's
older
not a
than you.
fair
No one
argument.
cared about
Unprompted,
this.
nobody's gonna talk about anything to you. Like unprompted.
No, people mention movies to me all the time, or like
Well,
scenes
that's
from
fair,
movies, or
but
quote
like,
movies,
you
but like
can't
this isn't
just
one of them.
like what kind of fucking argument are you giving me right now? Can we move on?
It's not an argument. That was a response to what you said about how this was like this huge pop culture phenomenon. I'm telling you, maybe in your like little group at the time it was, but this was not as wide-reaching a pop culture phenomenon, I think, as you believe it to be.
Okay, listen,
Because
let's just put it this way. If you're watching this, if you happen to be watching this, please leave a comment wherever you're watching or listening to this and let Davin know if you've heard of or watched UHF and how much you may love or do not love this movie. Because I don't know what to tell this guy, but Anyway, in the calamity of figuring out what they're going to do for a job, once again, George, being the absent-minded person that he is, realizes that he is supposed to be at his girlfriend Terry's place. Terry being played
by
by the.
Victoria Jackson,
Thank you very much. Yes, to Victoria Jackson.
who became a
Uh,
crazy Trumper later in life.
did she really? I haven't like
Yeah.
followed her outside of this one and only film. She's just so
Well,
like
she was on
innocently
Saturday Night
sweet.
Live for quite a while, quite a long time.
Oh, oh, okay. So yeah, we get this whole scene where she's basically figuring out George has no job yet again, and he's a daydreamer and he needs to get it serious. You get this scene where he's doing the whole potato mountain from First Contact, or not First
She
Contact.
also used to have a stand-up routine that she did while standing on her head. It was odd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to look into this. We then proceed to George being at his Uncle Harvey's place, where his Uncle Harvey and his aunt are having a party. Going about his way. He's talking to his aunt, and she's like, "Oh, it's a shame you get another job," and asks where Harvey is, and she's like, "I think he's having a meeting, but you're a good guy. You get this hilarious visual gag with the cheek pull."
Why is that funny?
It's not
If you're not 4 years old,
entirely. It's just a like such a weird
like
visual
it's
scene.
just very Weird Al. Exactly. It's just weird. It's not funny. It's annoying, but like
Why is it annoying?
I find because it's so juvenile, and even like the characters'
But this is a
voices,
juvenile film,
I guess that's why I don't like it.
so that for makes it annoying. So okay,
No,
that's
it's
fine.
the characters' portrayals themselves that are annoying. The humor's juvenile. The characters' performances are incredibly stereotypical and annoying. Except for Victoria Jackson and Fran Drescher, they just play like normal people for the most part.
Hmm.
Like,
So we get introduced to Stanley Brock character Uncle Harvey, who's having a good old fashioned poker game with the boys, really raking it in. He's a very successful gambling man, where he gets called by Big Louie.
this is the one story point I think was well written.
The
Which
one
was
brief
because
connecting story point for the setup and close.
just the fact that it's just such a useless, shitty TV network, like way, way, way down on the cable dial. that like the owner would just throw it on the table in a poker game. Like
True.
that was kind of I like poker too. So like that worked for me, but then like it was all downhill from there. And then up a little bit. There's a point in this movie where it gets just ever so slightly better, but no. Like I had to, like yeah, I had to turn to Tiffany who I was watching it with and be like, "My God, this movie's annoying." And I believe she
What did
agreed.
she think of the film?
She I just suspect her opinion is lower than mine. Again, annoying. It's just so annoying to listen to. It grates on the ears. It's like it was a chore. I will say
It's
it was a
hilarious.
chore to watch for like physical reasons and like mental stimulation.
That's wild because I just was like, this is hilarious. I was just laughing along with pretty much every joke. You
No, it's
know,
like a really bad Hot Shots. Like it's trying to do sort of Hot Shots humor, but the writing is just not nearly that good.
it. Well, no, it's like a B movie Hot Shots.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like a not well done movie Hot
Just
Shots.
open your heart, Davin. Just open your
I
heart.
can't. I
Just
tried.
open your cold heart.
I expected it to be better. Like I expected it to be a better putting his foot forward from Weird Al, but it was just pure unadulterated
I
Weird
don't know
Al
what you
and
expected from a movie where one
more
of
of
the
a
key
movie,
jokes is
I
Spatula
guess.
City.
And that's not funny.
Fuck you, that's not funny. Spatula City is a gem of a fucking joke.
It wasn't the worst joke in the movie, but I didn't laugh.
Anyway, Harvey comes out with his wad of money, and his wife figures out that he's been gambling, and he lets it be known to her that he just won a TV station. She gets the idea that George should take it, and she yells at George, who's, for some reason, feeding a spaniel some pooch, and then just whiffs the dog in the fruit punch. I don't. Even now, the scene makes me laugh every time. Oh shit. Anyway, so he's like, he gets the deal. He proceeds to take Terry late night to the station, and it's middle of the
Channel 62.
backwoods, UHF Channel 62 at its finest. They proceed to enter, but just before they enter, they get addressed by this kindly old gentleman who's just
This was the one
asking for
joke
some
that made me
change.
laugh. This was the
You
only
got
joke
any
that made me
change,
laugh.
mister? He's like,
Is,
yeah.
was
He's
this
like,
my video clip?
you know what? I think no, it wasn't your video clip. You
Did I
chose
actually like another scene?
you did. You chose a different scene. You said it
Okay.
was this one or the other one, and you decided to go with the other one.
We'll see what that is when we get there, I guess. But that was actually a funny joke. He asked him, he just wants change for his dollar.
He's the most subversive character because you're just like he's just another homeless guy looking for money. Oh no, he's actually just looking to change his bill, and then he disappears. And he's like, "Have a good day, Mister." And then he's off. You don't see him for a bit until he comes back to a key. So it's just some two key moments in this film which are beautiful. So we get back to
He
George
plays
and he
that character
explores.
in a lot of things.
Yeah, it's great. The thing is, the homages they do to this film were so well done. I feel, in my opinion. Um, so George is exploring where he enters Philo's sort of production lab, producers slash mad scientist lab. You just sort of get through this, and Philo's doing his experiments and welcomes George, getting him to hold some power cables and electrocuting him for whatever benounced reason. Just another like hilarious visual gag. For some reason though, I don't know why, I remember this scene and there's like a flash of him just being a skeleton. Um, and I was watching it
It's
and
a
I
different
didn't see
movie.
it.
That's a different
Is that a
movie.
different? Is it a
Yeah, I know
different
what scene you're
movie?
talking about. Yeah.
Because it's referencing another movie, obviously.
Yeah. I know that skeleton scene you're talking about. So you're just like ah, screaming and it turns into a might even be hot shots. It's something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, so we cut to the next morning where George is bringing Bob to the station. I love this little car that they have. This little like I don't know Datsun or something. I don't know what kind of vehicle it is, but it's so tiny. I want to see if I can get one in GTA 5. But yeah, they go to explore Channel 62. We get introduced to Fran Dresser's character. What was her name again?
Yeah, she's
Uh,
inconsequential. It doesn't matter.
Pamela Finkelstein, that's right. It was Pamela Finkelstein was Fran Dresser's character, where she proceeds, and she has a very important sort of setup line here, where she expresses her frustration that the station is getting, completely sold again, and she's got a new boss, and she just wants to be a news reporter. Where we get the the commercial of the car dealer being like, "I'll beat a seal to make a deal." But while they're watching that, they cut to the moment where they get a package for their competitor national station, the VHF station Channel 8, which is misdelivered to them. So George says he's decided to take the package over, where we get introduced to R.J. Fletcher, head of the station, played by Kevin McCarthy, brilliantly so, in my opinion. He's holding down this movie as the main antagonist with his absurd, just irrational hatred from number 2 B pencils and misplacing files, which he thinks that Michael Richards and Stanley Spadowski had stolen. So he proceeds to fire Stanley's character, or Stanley Spadowski, because he thinks the file stolen, only to discover that it was sitting in the chair he was sitting in all along.
These characters are too cartoony as well. Like, there's no it just seems like bad actors doing bad acting rather than characters you can like watch in a film and follow. Again, they should have just got actors.
They have that is such absurd. So George Newman's character proceeds to walk into Channel 8, where he yells, "Hey RJ!" in hilarious fashion, silencing the entire office, which RJ Fletcher is like, "Who is this?" Proceeds to act like he can fire George, only to realize that, Newman brought some packaging over, and proceeds to kick him out for, trespassing and potentially stealing, even though it's not what George was doing. On the way out, George sees Stanley Spadowski, violently being evicted and having his mop stolen. And in the heartbreaking sort of pivotal scene that's supposed to make you feel for Michael Richardson's character, you can tell that, he's had this mop all his life, and he just wants to have his mop. That's all. He just wants to be a kind janitor, cleaning, the world, or, offices that he lives in or works in. So George feels bad for him, proceeds to take him around. It's fucking the head jerking joke. I love it so much. Stressed out, but George is like, "I'll give you a job as, janitor," and Stanley's stoked. So we cut to the next scene, where we learn that, Fran Dresser's character is playing, or has get her upgrade as a news reporter. This leads to, the confrontation of the news teams on Channel 8, and ultimately my favorite scene I felt was the one scene that held up for me, and it was introduction of
Here's another thing. I find Emo Phillips incredibly annoying as well.
Hello, and welcome to Talent Talk. I'm George Newman, and today our
No,
special
Emo
guest
Phillips'
is
stand-up.
Oprah
I'm
Winfrey.
Emo
Joe
Phillips.
Worley.
Like, it's just
Joe,
everyone
thanks
trying
for
to be
joining us.
so
Thank you,
annoying.
home
Why is everyone so annoying
Oh, I
in
see
this?
you've brought some equipment with you today. Would you mind giving us a little demonstration?
Like, I was like, of course
also
Emo
the
Phillips is in
cameraman
this
here.
movie. I'm like, of course. It's like they made every bad decision possible. Of course Emo Phillips is in this movie.
The cameraman in this film, he also plays the uncle in House Party.
Piece of machinery
There's
like
an uncle in
this.
House Party.
Yeah, he's like the uncle
Table
of that
saw.
one girl who like lives in the house full of like people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Second female lead. Yeah, the scene where it's like the table saw, and he just like gives him the look. Like I cracks up.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the world universally agreed by like 1996 that Emo Phillips wasn't funny.
Believe this?
And that's why you haven't heard about him since then.
Will you look at
Oh, he's still doing
that?
stand up these days.
Just call me Mr. Butterfingers. I think it's on the floor somewhere.
So good. It's so good.
Is my face red?
I think you got your nostalgia glasses on, Murphy. None of this stuff is good.
I disagree, sir. That is prime.
I can't believe Emo
visual
Phillips
and
was your pick.
gags. Dude,
God, I
yeah, no,
hated
that's
that
one of
scene.
the like early scenes that like get me just busting laughing. Emo Phillips like rules at that. And then it also leads into fucking Spatula City. Spatula City, come on, kids, let's go down to Spatula City. Do you know where you need to get your spatulas? Down at Spatula City. And it's one of the all-time greatest. Like, I remember this joke clear as day. You know, the perfect Christmas gift is a spatula, or the way I say I love you with a spatula from Spatula City. Like, it's just so fucking ridiculous.
That was okay. That was an okay gag.
And then we get dropped into Uncle Nutsy's Funhouse, where we get to just introduced to Weird Al's attempt to be a child actor or child entertainment.
Yeah, but like,
actor.
there's no difference between that and how Weird Al acts all the rest of the time. So like, that's what I mean, where he's just like feels like a guy who he's not funny. I don't think Weird Al's funny.
I don't think you truly have actually examined Weird Al and his work and just general artistic behavior and stuff. Like, I feel like you don't quite get it, and
maybe
you're
I don't.
kind of being contentious for that.
Perhaps this type of humor goes over my head, but I suspect it goes under my chin.
It's fair. The introducing where he asks the kid and he just spits in his face. So spot on. There's a scene here where Bob comes out dressed as a clown and he whacks him in the face with his pan. Apparently, he actually like clipped him and split his lip, and they decided to end up using that take. Even though it's like a rubber pan.
And a split lip there? You can't see a split lip there, can you?
You can.
Oh, he's got red makeup on. Yeah.
He's got red makeup, but if you look carefully,
yeah, a little bit there.
Just a little one on the bottom lip there.
Yeah.
You know.
He doesn't look
Bob
happy.
and George. Bob and George are making an attempt to run the station. They're figuring out that it is basically going bankrupt, and they're only airing reruns of old shows. So they're attempting to attract more viewers by creating new shows of their own. In this sketch, he's supposed to be feeding butter cookies to Bob, but he ends up feeding Yappy's dog treats with real beef flavor and just a hint of cheese. As Bob
That's not funny. That's just kind of mean and stupid. Like, again, these are 4-year-old jokes. Like, it's not. It's so annoying.
We then get a cut. We then proceed to move on to the "Guns Don't Kill People, I Do" commercial intro, where it's interrupted with a special bulletin, and George's character is using his broadcasting powers to announce to his girlfriend Terry that he'd like to take her and her parents out for dinner, which is one of the catalyst and pivotal moment scenes. We then led to a Plots RS commercial for mortuaries, where they have big parking lots, and don't forget the all-you-can-eat buffet salad, which is, leads to a scene where George is doing, basically the taxes, doing the paperwork, and arguably, I will agree with you here, this is the one scene in the movie I dislike the most, which is the Beverly Hills Billy music scene.
Beverly Hillbillies are actually funnier than Weird Al, though.
It's, debatable. Anyway, it's funny that when I first saw this movie, I was really surprised to see this music video in the movie, because I was like, I've seen the music video, and I was like, surely they'll just play a brief moment of it. And yeah, surely they'll just play like a brief moment of it, but they end up, fucking doing the entire music video. So yeah, I agree. This is probably the worst.
Like, they dropped
the whole film.
Like, if you were following this as a movie, which I don't know how you do, that completely interrupts it and just throws a Weird Al music video in there, and it wasn't a good song. Yeah. It's like, it was annoying. Everything's so friggin' annoying.
Sorry, I got a cat on my lap.
Hey, kitty, that's a good thing.
George ends up, freaking out, proceeds to realize that, he's late for his dinner date, and he's heartbroken. Comes out to the stage and just says, fuck it, tell Stanley to take over the show. And that's when the movie starts to kick off. And this is where we're introduced to your favorite scene.
Because, okay. I know why I picked this. It's not that I super enjoyed the scene or anything, but like, he's just doing Jerry Lewis. I don't like it.
Cartoon, wasn't it? You know, that cartoon, it reminds me of a dream I had last week. And I
guess
turned
so.
into a
I don't know
bird
Jerry
with
Lewis
a
the well.
candy bar head. And then there was these other birds, you know, they're all trying to eat my head.
Apparently,
But I got away
he
from
just
them.
did this
Then
role
there was
like
this
a
tree,
few
you know, there
months
was this weird
before he
lizard,
started
you know.
doing Seinfeld. So he wasn't quite known for Seinfeld yet. This was like his sort of introduction.
I want to show you something. I want to show you something.
See, I'm not enjoying this scene. I just picked it because it was the point in when like the movie started to feel a little more like a movie. But
This is my new mop. George, my friend, he gave me this mop.
So yeah, George and Bob are drowning.
It's not as good as my first mop. I miss my first mop. But this is still a good mop. Sometimes you just have to take what life gives you.
like this, that's what he's saying there is like the only bit of heart in this entire movie. Like
bugs and hairballs and stuff. You gotta clean it out. You gotta put it in here and rinse it off and start all over again. And sometimes life sticks to the floor so bad. You know, a mop is not good enough. It's not good enough. You gotta get down there like with a toothbrush.
yeah, okay,
you know?
this is probably the best scene in the movie.
Scrub, you gotta get it off. You gotta really try
You know what?
to
A
get it off.
toothbrush
But
is
if that
great
doesn't
for
work,
cleaning.
if that doesn't work, you can't give up. You gotta stand right up. You gotta run to a window and say, "Hey, these floors are dirty as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore."
That's the other reason I picked this. That's that's actually, now that I've seen it, that is the main reason I picked that scene. Was because that's taken us back to a scene I actually did enjoy in Network. I was mad as hell that I'm not gonna take it anymore. So yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a great scene.
Brief 30 seconds, I didn't hate this movie, and then I go back to despising it again.
So yeah, after George and Bob, you know, they realize that they're drowning the stores at the bar. They see Stanley's being a hit on the show. They run back and they're like, "Did you like doing the show, Stanley?" "Well, yeah, George. That's great. Did you want to keep doing the show?" "Well, yeah, George. Do I have to stop being a janitor?" He's like, "No, you can still be a janitor." He's like, "Okay, yeah, then I'll keep doing the show." So
that was also the scene that showed that Michael Richards is the only actor in this movie.
He definitely acts his ass off in this film. He's 100% like busting his.
Well, when he's not doing the Jerry Lewis impression, that's not acting. Anyone can get up and do a stupid Jerry Lewis impression. I would, but it's offensive, so I won't.
So George and Bob decide to start making some new shows, and George is like, "Oh, I've got a few." Bob gives him a look. That's where we get started introduced to the monotony of shows like Wheel of Fish, which is introduced by what's his character?
Eddie Watanabe. I don't know what his character's name.
So yeah, Eddie Watanabe. Which was his character's name? Anyway, he spins a wheel of fish where the lady's about to win a red snapper, and she asks for a box which is empty, and he calls her stupid. We get led to the Secrets of the Universe with Philo again, and then ultimately this would have been my other pick for a favorite scene, which was Raoul's Wild Kingdom, where he's just like showing off all of his animals and turtles, and these guys are bewildered. They're just absolutely bewildered. They're like, "Did you hire this guy?" He's like, "No, I thought you hired this guy."
The one thing I'll say that this movie, of course, did not do at all on purpose, but has kind of rung true in the world, is like he's just setting up a bunch of podcasts on his network, essentially. Like that's just
why I was hoping you'd really like would gel with the show, just because George is like, "I got a new show," and I'm like, "This is Davan."
I know, right? Like it's just, if it wasn't so absolutely annoying the entire time. This was a painful movie for me to watch. I won't, like, easily the worst comedy we've featured on this show, in my opinion. We haven't featured a lot of comedies.
So Raoul is throwing puppies out the window because he thinks he can make poodles fly. He's got a pile of them at the base of his apartment, which is one of the other visual gags. So fun. So not so fun fact, but one that is kind of sad is this character. I'm hating myself for not having his name on the fly. Raul Trinidad Silva. That's right, Trinidad Silva.
His actor's name.
Yeah, this actor, he actually died during the filming of this movie. He got into a car accident and passed away. So he was supposed to be in the final scene of the film, where everyone's like reconciling and the show's doing great. But yeah, he just didn't get to make it. So the film's actually dedicated to him. Yeah. So we go from puppies flying to Terry, getting on the phone, George giving her a call, and RJ, pretty much ignoring the fact that this UHF channel is rising, and he tells his employee to take that ridiculous thing off. You think he means the hat, but he takes off the mustache. Again, another out of the left field sort of joke.
That one was okay as well.
We're then introduced to Stanley Spadowski's clubhouse, which is filled and packed to the brim and showing that, UHF is kicking off. We get the blue marble and the oatmeal gag joke, where Billy found the blue marble in the oatmeal. Why? Don't know, but it's to drink from the fire hose. Why? Again, don't know. It's just it's just like acid dream chaos entertainment. But, it's hilarious in my opinion, every scene. We also get to the next joke, which is, Raoul is getting a new shipment of animals for his next episode, where he's introduced there. He's told he's got a shipment of badgers, and Raoul's like, badgers? We don't need no stinking badgers! Like, another quotable joke, in my opinion. But yeah, the film's progressing. We're getting introduced to one of the other classic jokes, which is Conan the Librarian, where he's asked where to find a thing, and he picks up and he's, don't you know the Dewey Decimal System? And he hacks another student in half for being late with books. It's Conan the Librarian tonight at 7:30. Just one of the many shows at UHF, including Wonderful World of Phlegm, Name That Stain, The Young and the Dyslexic, Leave It to Bigfoot, Secrets of the Universe, and news every Friday nights. So while doing the fall scheduling, Bob's going through the paperwork to realize that they're actually number one in ratings in their area, and they lose their shit. And they've upgraded Channel 62, where they've got shows like Stay Fit, Bowling for Burgers with Chef Bernie, and Strip Solitaire, Practical Jokes and Bloopers, and Celebrity Mud Wrestling with Gorbachev, which is, Channel 62, be there. Things are going downhill. RJ Fletcher wants to know who owns the studio, which we get to cut back to Harry, who's chilling in the pool, but he gets a call from Big Louie, who lets him know that he's down 70,000 G's on the last horses. Harry proceeds to, say he needs some time. Big Louie gives him until Friday. And that's, introducing RJ Fletcher, who's thinking he's bought the station, and he's going to turn it into a parking lot. So before Harry heads back to make the deal, George finds out, and he asks for one final, chance. Just give me a chance. Let me buy the station. Any chance we can do. Philo decides to keep an eye on RJ Fletcher, install some security cameras, and, Harry Bilchick proceeds to, when they make the deal. Then we get down to another, which is probably one of the last scenes I would have loved to have used, which is Town Talk with George, which is basically at the time Jerry Springer. Jerry Springer, yes, and those like reality TV shows were huge. So this is like a huge spoof on all that. George being dejected, Stanley gives him the idea that they should do a fundraiser.
I don't even think Jerry Springer was around in '89. It was probably more like spoofing Phil Donahue.
Was it like
Sally Jesse
Donahue
Raphael,
or that guy with the mustache? What was his name? Or did he? I suppose he was more of a journalist. He didn't really do TV shows like that, did he? Maybe you're talking about Phil Donahue, but I'm thinking of somebody else potentially.
No, Phil Donahue was just an older guy with no mustache.
Okay, there was a journalist that was like semi-popular back in the '90s with a big mustache.
Oh, you're talking about Geraldo Rivera.
Yes, Geraldo Rivera. Yes. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, he did this sort of stuff too.
Yes, didn't he have a show like Springer or something like that? Anyway, more Povich style reality like shows. Anyway, so they're doing their
You
telethon.
are not the father, Murphy.
You are not the father. Well, thankfully, I'm not the father of anybody, so Stanley's doing the hosting, but he's getting a small break here. George is, I gotta go do this thing where Stanley just gets kidnapped because he thinks there's pizza at the door. He's just gullible, and he proceeds to ignore his captors. This is one of the jokes where I was just like, "What the fuck is happening?" The guys are just like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." like,
I don't get it. I don't get any of this. I don't get why it's funny. I just don't get it. It's just weird for the sake of weird. It's Weird Al personified.
It's weird, but I think it's also showing the fact that they don't have like their main star Stanley, so they're struggling to have content on TV because they just don't have this like enigmatic content machine like many, excellent production places like United Federation has within you, Davan. We just don't have this content monsters. So without the content monsters, he's just drying up. Fucking drinking a whole cup of coffee. So he's telling the people to cut to commercial. We get cut to probably one of the last like big.
Are you trying to suggest I'm a recovering podcast addict? Is that what you're trying to say? Or maybe not even recovering, that I'm just full addiction. I'm a junkie. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe a slight addiction. Anyway, yeah. So we've got the Gandhi 2, movie trailer, which shows Gandhi as a badass action hero. I can't remember if this is played by Weird Al or not. I feel like it is Weird Al.
It's not Weird Al. He's like a foot too short.
That's why I was like, I don't think this is Weird Al. I always, for some reason, I always remember being a kid and thinking this was just Weird Al doing his things like he did in the previous sketches with
Definitely
Indiana
not.
Jones and shit like that, right? So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we then cut from that one commercial to RJ Fletcher being once again introduced to our loving cash wielding hobo, looking for a bit of change. RJ
This time he did want money because he saw the rich guy.
Money.
He's just like, that rich guy got money.
And RJ Fletcher ultimately gives him a penny, and our hobo guy loses his shit. He is just like, wow, thanks, mister. That's really kind of you. And RJ's like, whatever. Gets out of the way. Terry, proceeds to confront him, and he gives him a piece of mind about how much his town sucks. Stanley, being caught, eventually breaks free, getting a hold of his mop, and proceeds into a chase where we're then introduced to Philo and Weird Al, discovering where Stanley is. Like, they couldn't figure it out, but we then get to the scene where he runs in a parking lot, and then it cuts to him being in a Rambo dream experience where it's just like silly fucking goofy scene after scene of just like the most ridiculous. The funny thing is I remember this more than I remember Rambo. Like, I remember the scene.
Rambo might have been a bit before your time there, Murphy.
It might have been just a touch more. The scene where he guns them all down.
I wasn't big into Rambo either.
Gun.
I remember the Rambo NES game more than I remember the movie Rambo.
You know, I kind of remember that NES game a bit too. Such a fun side scroller. Catches the bullet, spits it out. Dream sequence. They're in a chopper, blows it up. He thinks he's coming in to be their worst nightmare, only to get a gun pointed to his head, and just.
Weird Al's the kind of guy that thinks making a funny face is funny, even though that works on 2-year-old babies. I make a funny face for my 2-year-old baby, not for adults. That's how you make a 2-year-old laugh. I do it all the time.
Again, this is
but like in another couple years, she's not even gonna find that funny. Maybe even in a year. Like, babies grow out of this. I
disagree. I think your daughter is not only gonna watch this movie and enjoy it, she's gonna learn to love it, and it'll be one of her all-time favorite films. Just despite.
There's no way that would ever happen. She has taste.
Time will tell, and in 10 years, I'll ask her what one of her favorite films is, and if she says UHF, you owe me a beer.
She's even seen it. I'll buy you a beer.
So yeah, these guys are about to, meet their comeuppance until they go to the supplies store, and we get to this joke. Supplies!
Such a stereotype, man. This is so offensive. There have been movies we featured on this podcast that you've agreed with me are offensive, and this is way more offensive than those movies. Like, this is way more
who's
offensive than The
offended,
Apartment.
though?
Oh, I
Who's
bet you can
offended?
find people that are offended by all these stereotypical friggin' portrayals. This is bad stuff, man. You
I'm not
would
going to
never see.
disagree that this is aged and wouldn't fly through now, but I'm
It has
definitely
not
going to
aged
argue
well. It
that
does not hold up.
this
It
supplies
has
joke
aged
is funny.
horribly.
That is funny as fuck, and I will argue that till I'm dead. Supplies is fucking hilarious. All right,
Offensive. That's so
how
offensive.
Is it offensive? How is it offensive? How is it offensive? How is them saying supplies? They could have said surprise, but they said supplies instead.
Because that's what
supplies closet.
Because that's an Asian stereotype, man. You don't say that anymore. Replacing an R with an L is like, you don't do that. That's not funny. That's offensive.
I think it's a funny.
It is.
It makes me laugh.
It is. No, it's very offensive. So is the Jerry Lewis stuff. Don't like it. It does not hold up. By the mid '90s, this was already offensive.
Well,
So
to be fair,
really
this
hasn't
wasn't
held
much
up
of a
to
box
now.
office hit.
No.
So the show, it looks like they're not going to meet their feelings. RJ Fletcher's gloating, and then he gets the video feed of him rallying off the community. The clock's ticking. Harry's about to sell it to RJ. He's like, "Give me the money, I'll sell it to you right now." But RJ wants to gloat, and in that time, Big Louie drives up. While RJ is gloating, our beloved sweet change wielding hobo comes by with a stack of $2,000, buys the rest of the stock, saves the day, gives the money, and they get the contract to the station.
It was like, what wasn't it, like an old ass penny or something like that? That was
it was a 1972 something penny that was worth like so many thousands of dollars. It even was enough. So RJ gets his station taken away from him by basically like the rate, like the commission, the Standards and Communication Commission. Then interviewed on news about it. And just before that, after that, he gets met up with a hobo guy who's like, "I got a Rolex." But we also get to find out that Philo is going home, and he turns into an alien and then absolutely dips.
Is that the end?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the end.
Okay. Good God. It was even painful a second time, and I didn't have to hear their goddamn voices. All right, let's look. I know you love this movie, but let's which performance would you hold up?
I would say Michael Richardson's performance holds up the most for me. It's
offensive.
It's the one that has, like, he's the one the most energy. He's the one that sort of like is sort of carrying the film. Weird Al's good, and he does a good fine performance, but he plays it mostly like himself for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Richards too, but like again, I found most of it offensive, but there's that one brief moment where he makes the best scene in the movie. But yeah. The setting aesthetic, hard to look at. I mean, it was a B movie, so it was like there's that, but I found it annoying to look at. All the clothes Weird Al would wear would annoy me. Like, it's not funny. It's not
clothes.
funny.
It's a
No, his weren't
film.
1980s clothes. There would just be like a shirt with as many colors as possible on it, so that when you look at it, you just like.
That's what he's known for, the fucking wild,
I know.
Hawaiian shirts.
And like that music video part didn't look good, and neither did that I guess computer generated bit. I guess that was the music scene, wasn't it? But
yeah,
that
the
didn't
music
look
video
good.
was the worst part for sure. Yeah,
Clearly a B movie, I'll say, for the setting and aesthetic. But, the lab. I liked Buddy's like beakers everywhere. I always like a beaker filled lab. You give me a set like that,
such
I'm
an
down.
iconic beaker-filled lab. Philo's lab is so. When I think of like scientifically labs, I always think of that lab.
That's the best set in the movie.
Yes, it's definitely the one that they put the most like production in, and then they just sort of recycle.
All right. Well, this was a friggin' long 50 minutes talking about this movie, so I hope the morsels are quick.
Yes, I make sure to keep the morsels quick and brief.
All right, let's fire up some movie morsels with Murphy then.
Yes. So, movie morsels with UHF. Weird Al Yankovic wanted to call the movie the Vidiot. He didn't think UHF would make much sense in a world slowly gravitating toward cable television, and the UHF designation is not widely known outside North America. For the U.S. market, Orion insisted on UHF.
I think they should have called it Vidiot.
In most
it
foreign
matches
markets,
the film better.
In most foreign markets, it was called the Vidiot from UHF. In the DVD commentary, Weird Al says that in interviews on foreign television shows, when asked why he picked that title, he felt like replying, "I didn't. The studio did. I hate that title." In Mexico, it was released as Los Telelocos, which translates as the TV Crazies. Real fish were attached to the wheel of fish. They were bought at a local fish market early one morning. The set designer began attaching them to the wheel around 6 a.m., making sure the wheel spun smoothly.
It's a waste of fish life, and I find that offensive as well.
Yeah,
everything in this movie is offensive.
It's a lot of wasted fish for sure. Filming started at 4:30 p.m. on a hot summer day in a building that wasn't air conditioned, filled with hot studio lights and over 100 extras. The DVD commentary, Weird Al Yankovic described the filming conditions as ripe. That, could you imagine that kind of smell? I don't think I could do it. During the first Uncle Nutsy's clubhouse scene, Uncle Nutsy tells Bobby the Clown to look up, down, and then at Mr. Frying Pan, and that's what David Bowie splits his lip. Weird Al Yankovic offered Crispin Glover the role of Dr. Philo, according to WeirdAl.com. Glover only wanted to play the role of Crazy Eddie, the car salesman who says, "I'll have a club seal to make a better deal." Neither Weird Al nor Jay Levy thought that Glover was right for the role, so they passed. Which is like Crispin Glover as the seal deal commercial guy is just like, really? Why would he want that role?
He didn't want to be in this movie, which is good. Smart on Crispin Glover.
In addition to the program shown on Channel 62, the station's Friday lineup on the wallboard includes Bestiality Today, Beat the Loan Shark, The Beverly Hillbillies, Buddha Knows Best, Dog Racing from Rio de Janeiro, Druids on Parade, Eye of Toxic Waste, Fun with Dirt, Leave It to Bigfoot, Mr. Ed, My Three Mutants, Name That Stain, News, Raoul's Wild Kingdom, Stanley Spadowski's Clubhouse, That's Disgusting, The Flying Pope, The Lice is Right, The Young and the Dyslexic, Town Talk, Traffic Court, Secrets of the Universe, Underwater, Bingo for Teens, Volcano Worshippers Hour, Wheel of Fish, Wide World of Tractor Pulls, Wonderful World of Phlegm, and You Bet Your Pink Slip. Programs shown but not on the lineup include Bowling for Burgers and Strip Salter. Released about 2 weeks before the pilot of Seinfeld, where Michael Richards was introduced as the character Kramer. And according to Weird Al Yankovic, G.W. Bailey and Art Metroni auditioned and were seriously considered for the role of R.J. Fletcher. Cinematography by David Lewis, edited by Dennis M. O'Connor. Music by John Dupree's. Release date of July 21st, 1989, with 97 minutes, a budget of $5 million, and a box office of $6.1 million. That's UHF.
Can't believe that made millions, even if it's only 6.
Can you hear that beeping?
Beep. Beep. Beep.
I think one of my neighbors smoke alarms going off.
Rewatchability, God no.
Considering I've rewatched this movie probably once a year, yeah.
I can't believe you waste your time like that. I can't believe that you don't find these things offensive. If they were in any other movie, you would. I think you're being dishonest to yourself here, Murphy. Does it hold up? No, it's offensive. It like the very question we ask ourselves on this show is, does it hold up to viewing today? And no, because it's like it insults so many people in the world. Like it's an offensive movie. It insults Asian people. It insults developmentally challenged people. It's just it's just bad and offensive.
I don't think it offends those type of people in the way you think it offends them. I
Me,
mean, I could be wrong. I don't think I've ever heard anyone in the world be like, UHF has offended me in my core as a person.
because no one's seen it.
That's not true. Many people have seen it. I mean, you think nobody's seen it because you haven't seen it, which is...
You just said it was a
you're
bomb,
wrong.
a box office bomb. So clearly nobody went to see it.
Well, no, in 1989, but when it became a DVD hit, it became a cult classic. In 92, when it was finally released on DVD, it had many DVD sales. It was, you know what, that was going to be one of the movie morsels I was going to write down, but I decided to skip it for brevity and the fact that it might have been too boring a fact. But you know what, it actually was very popular with DVD sales and has become a cult classic.
A lot of crappy movies have become cult classics. But no, it doesn't hold up for me. And it's too offensive.
It certainly holds up for me. It certainly holds up for me. And I don't think the movie is as offensive as you want it to be.
It's the most annoying movie I've ever sat through. Like, I've never sat there and
made us watch The Tingler.
There's something annoying about The Twingler. You just didn't find it particularly interesting.
Yeah, but I enjoyed my time watching UHF and enjoyed my time watching UHF more than I ever had watching The Tingler.
It's very wrong about that. But anyway, moving on to Theater 2. Can't believe I have to put that in the B movie column. Yeah, we have a thing for that later. Oh yeah, I'll have to bring that up. Yeah, Theater 2, we have Stay Tuned, my pick for this evening, my only pick. Murphy had two. 1992, starring John Ritter, a real actor, Pam Dauber, who I'm not really familiar with, Eugene Levy, one of the great comedic actors, and Jeffrey Jones, another fine comedic actor. See, actors, because this is a movie. So yeah, fire away. The old
trailer for Stay Tuned.
Yeah. Again, though, didn't hold up as well as I thought it
would. It barely held up for me.
I've lost the feeling in my heart.
All of a sudden, I can't see anything.
Sorry to disturb you at this hour, but I have something you
Sunday
want.
City, different strokes.
A new TV?
It broadcast programs no one had ever seen.
Wednesday at 9, don't miss an all-new episode of The Silencer of the Lambs.
Then one night, Roy and Helen Nabel got sucked in and discovered that hell is one TV show after another.
Let's welcome our new contestants, Roy and Helen Nabel!
And they're starring in every show.
I've watched enough wrestling to know one thing. It's all fake. No one ever gets...
I like the premise of this movie a lot better.
The object, Mr. Pierce, is to kill
this
them
one,
before they reach the end.
I bet you Joss Whedon saw this movie because
I am not a mouse. I'm Helen Nabel.
Cabin, what is it called? Cabin in the Woods?
Mom?
Our
parents
kind of
are
takes
trapped
some
in
things.
television.
Now, they can't go home. They can only switch channels.
Where'd he go?
Hey, lady, watch out!
And every series is a nightmare.
That's entertainment.
Because Satan is the sponsor.
Okay, everybody. Head spins. Very good.
See, that's a better gag than any of the UHF gags.
Not even I heard of that as a better gag than any of the gags UHF. God, this
look,
seems
a song by musicians
from hell.
Like some of these gags I didn't find funny. Like I didn't find Dwayne's Underworld funny.
I was impressed with the impression.
Stay tuned.
Where have you been?
That was funny. You might not get that.
I do get that. Yeah, the Three's Company reference.
Yeah.
Okay,
because he starred in Three's Company, so he was just playing his character from Three's Company there for a second. That was hilarious.
That was a nice little meta joke, but apparently,
Yeah.
so in the trailer you saw there, they did a close up of the lookalikes. They ended up taking that out in the final film, I guess. I was really, yeah, in the scene for the Three's Company one, they have a close up of the two girls. They're just lookalikes from the old show, and yeah, they ended up taking that out in the final film. You don't get the actual close up of them.
Yeah. It's fine. Well, this movie, are you gonna take us through it, or am I?
Oh no, I can do that. Yeah. So 1992's comedy fantasy film Stand 2, directed by Peter Hyams.
All right, I'm taking over. So stay tuned. 1992.
I'll just message you. Right, come on, okay. So yeah, the film follows a suburban couple. We get introduced to their neighbors, the Reidenbaums, which quickly are dispatched by mysterious door knocker played by Jeffrey Jones, known as
Jeffrey
Spike.
Jones. Plays a good villain, Jeffrey Jones.
Okay, here's the thing about this film, and this screenshot right here. This film has
his product placement all over it.
As the product placements throughout the entirety of this film. That's how much substance this film has.
Placement.
There's
but
the
they're like that
the
itself is a gag, is a meta gag. Like everything in this movie is on purpose.
Is it though? Is it a meta gag, or was the way?
Yes, because this movie is full of meta gags.
Ridiculously expensive film.
I'm sure they used that particular meta gag to pay for all the other gags. Like they definitely got some cheddar cheese from that product placement. Like it's everywhere, but.
So
it's
we're introduced to John Ritter's character Roy Nabel, sitting in his chair, surrounded by his junk food, flipping through the tube. He then proceeds to jump out of his chair when one of his favorite fencing films comes on. He pulls a fencing sword off. I was like, why does this guy have a fencing sword? It later comes to highlight that he is actually a high school champion fencer. His wife, played by Pam Dauber, Helen Nabel, is then introduced to the scene as she's exhausted by her husband's TV.
She's very good in this. I'm surprised I haven't seen her in other things.
Yeah, she was really good in it. She played the thing about her character was she had really strong and sensible character motivations in the beginning, and then by the end of it, it was all just thrown away for typical damsel in distress nonsense. She's clearly a woman that is untouched and unloved by her husband, and she's getting fed up by it. And Roy's just like depressed about his failing plumbing job and is just sucking.
The ending's not my favorite, but
we're then introduced to Dave Tom's character, Daryl Nabel, the son, who is some sort of magic tech nerd. He's taken over the radio airwaves and wants to be a little perv and sell videos of his sister kissing another boy. And people can get.
He's a weird kid.
He's a really weird kid. I found this whole scene just unsettling, and it's like
Me too.
This I found disturbing. I'm like, why are you trying to hawk vids of your sister, my guy? His gear blows up.
I think he's doing it really just to piss her off, but.
Yeah, maybe
not.
So this film is narrated by Daryl Nabels. Basically, he's setting it up that his family had a really weird night. He tries to basically get his mom and dad to go on a sex vacation, and go on it
because it worked for his friends' parents.
Because it worked for his friends, yeah. So him and his sister leave for the night. They go hang out with their friends, but we get the setup here between. This is what I call the unfair treatment of a Rottweiler trope. This dog clearly just wants pats, and he's got a shitty owner, and they're trying to make it seem like he's a vicious dog, and it's terrible, and I hated this.
He's just a good boy. Just a good boy.
He's such a good boy. He's such a good boy. He deserves pats and treats, and he just wants to wrestle a little. He doesn't want to harm a damn human thing, and it made me mad, and I hated that about this film. I hated that about this film so much. I was like, stop this.
Oh, man. Well, look, the angry dog was a huge 90s trope. There was an angry dog in like half of 90s movies.
So, yeah, he's trying to make sales. It was never really clear that he's a plumber. I only figured out he's a plumber when I was reading.
Plumbing salesman.
Yeah,
He's
I
like
never. That was never. Was that made clear at any point? Because I never really figured that out. Because I only figured that out when I was reading more about this. I was like, what the fuck was his job?
It was. I mean, but the only thing that matters is he has a job that he hates, and he'd rather just stay home and watch TV because he's obsessed with TV. And you know what? There were a lot of people like that back then. TV was like cable was new, so people were used to having 3 channels. So as soon as you had like 70 channels or even 30 channels, it went to 31 first. We had 31 channels on that old converter. But then and that was kind of amazing. Like now it's everyone just stares at a screen all day anyway, so it's like not very significant to look back on, I guess. But like this was the beginning of like
I remember the day my parents got like a black box, which was, the illegal cable television hookups. Yeah. TV addiction started very hard that day in my parents' house, in my house. Yeah. Lots of things started being watched.
My screen addiction as a child is why we have this particular podcast here, because I just watch the Movie Network all day, every day.
It's true. The Movie Network was solid. I don't even know if it's still around these days.
It was great.
No
TV channels are around these days.
Helen and Roy have an argument after the kids go out for their shenanigans of kidness, which Helen just loses her shit, takes Roy's fence trophy and just biffs it through the TV, much to Roy's dismay.
Serious reaction, gotta say. Serious reaction. Yeah. But, this has probably been... We only get to see a brief snippet of his screen addiction. He's probably been, like, ignoring his family for, like, 2 years. And she just finally had enough. But, serious.
So, yeah, after the TV smashes, Helen, I believe... At this point, Helen decides to roll out. She needs some space. Leaving Roy at home to watch.
She's taking the kids, isn't she saying? She's like, I'm taking the kids. We're all leaving.
So, Roy's watching whatever he's got on his tiny TV, and that's when Jeffrey Jones, a Spike character, knocks on the door with his sinister deal of a satellite TV with 666 channels of interdimensional television,
and
a giant TV, all for free. Roy's ready to turn it down because he thinks he's going to talk to his wife, but he goes, you can have it for free, and he perks up and takes the deal. And somehow this dude gets a satellite this big installed in his backyard the same night in less than an hour and doesn't have any questions raised about it. Jeffrey Jones then drives really off and he's like, you're going to a dead end, which we then get this scene where he basically drives into a portal to hell, which is when Helen comes back to find out, and he's watching Three Men and
Rosemary's Baby.
And then that's when we're introduced to your favorite scene from
this because this scene's just crazy. It's crazy, and it's also a bit prophetic.
Sadistic video.
Out of here? I guess not. Oh,
we thought it would be funny if our Bob, dressed as a policeman, would tell a perfect stranger that her husband is dead.
Yes.
Mrs. Cecily Barth?
Yes.
Your husband's name was Stephen Barth?
Was. What do you mean was?
Did your husband drive a 1978 Chevrolet Impala?
What are you saying? Has something happened to my Stephen? Tell me.
Now watch her reaction to the bad news.
I'm afraid so.
Of course it's gonna be horrible. Like what? Oh my god.
I think it's time for
insane.
Mrs. Barth to be let in on the fun. Don't you?
Mrs. Barth, look across the street at that van behind me. Look really carefully.
It's just hilarious how she's not mad. As soon as she sees the camera, she's like, what?
You mean?
Like,
yes, Mrs. Barth. You're on
Statistic hidden videos? You're Bob.
He's like, what? How can that be a
terrible.
Show? He's like, what?
This is terrible.
No, it's crazy.
But fucking bad acting, and this is like some of the worst I've ever seen.
Well, that need not even be acting. That's just anyway. That America's Funniest Videos was huge back then, so that was funny.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But also, it's prophetic because now, in the modern age, people would probably do that shit. Back then, that's crazy. Like you would go up to somebody's house and say something like to them. But like with people like Tom Green and Jackass and like these prank shows and stuff, like in Practical Jokers, I think is one. They would probably do shit like that. So it's like this movie is very prophetic in a way as well.
I suppose so. So anyway, Helen gets back. She's losing her shit because Roy's out there trying to fix the cable.
And screen addiction.
Losing signal. It is.
It's prophetic for that reason.
No,
like that's
yeah. I suppose in a sense, I didn't really view this movie as a prophetic movie. I just viewed this movie as like loosely stringed chaos.
Oh, it's definitely loosely stringed chaos.
Helen starts whacking the.
It might be a strength.
Starts whacking the satellite dish with a shovel, which turns it on. As her and Roy start arguing, and she's trying to walk away. The satellite dish takes their briefcase, sucks it in, and the moment that the satellite dish started sucking things in, I was like, they're gonna suck in the dog. That's gonna be like one of the last scenes that dogs are gonna get sucked into the stupid satellite dish. Yeah, good use of warp effects here, pulling them in. We go through the wire tunnel where Spike eats them up, and then we get the transition between this guy and his
this guy's smile was just funny. You just zooming in on Jeffrey
wild.
Jones' face, and all of a sudden you got that guy just like, I don't know. That made me laugh, actually. This is such a ridiculous smile.
They're introduced as candidates in the hellish television
You
world.
can't win.
You can't win.
This is a fun gag, too. This asks you questions that you'll either get wrong or get in trouble. It's like you can't win.
You get introduced to this, which is I kind of found funny, was the chair that was a toilet and a TV and a beer fridge and a phone.
The Napper Crapper 2000.
The Napper Crapper 2000. And that's when we get to introduce.
See, this movie was kind of like
Levy's
my
character.
UHF. I watched this movie a few times as a kid, and I remember these gags. And like,
so this was when we get introduced to the best character in the whole movie, Eugene Levy, hands down.
Absolutely,
hands down best character. But then I was super surprised
motherfucker,
to see Eric King. Eric King was in this movie. I was like, wait,
I don't know him really.
You don't know?
Surprise, motherfucker.
I'm so sad. Okay, so
I can't think of anything I've seen him in.
He played was it Sergeant Dokes in
Oh, was he Dokes? Oh, I loved Dokes. Never mind.
Surprise, motherfucker.
There, ain't it? Yeah. It's been a long time since I saw Dexter, but I stopped watching it when they killed Dokes. Dokes is the man.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So yeah, I was very surprised to see Eric King in this film, and he's playing Pierce. Was it Pierce? I think it was his character's name. Eric King. Yeah, Pierce. He's playing
Again, good
Pierce.
actors. They've got a lot of good actors in this movie, and they're working with their kind of silly roles, and they're like a lot of them. They're all playing it straight. Like it's the thing about UHS is it's just everyone's trying to be funny, so they're not funny. Like trying to be funny doesn't work. You can't get up on stage as a stand-up comedian and try to be funny. You have to try to be like relatable in your dialogue and like.
Well, that's the thing in UHF.
True
they
life
were trying
stuff.
to be funny. They were funny. So I mean, I don't know what you're talking about, sir. So yeah, we introduced to Eric King and Eugene Levy character. Pierce is getting the explanation from Eugene Levy's Crowley.
This is the scene that reminds me of Cabin in the Woods, because they have those guys that are like working for the devil that are standing in a room very much like this and looking at the screen and who's gonna So I feel like this did have some resonance that way as well.
Yeah, we get introduced basically to Hell's production area. We're then brought back to the opening neighbors. The what were their name again? The Robin Bombs or something like that. Anyway, the Riding Bombs. Yeah, they're in basically a Godzilla film where the wife gets crushed by Godzilla and the husband runs away. And
Eugene Levy's so good in this movie.
Eugene Levy's his back is broken. He carried this film, in my opinion. He did so good.
Well, John Ritter's always great. Like John Ritter's great in everything.
John Ritter definitely acted his ass off in this film.
He always does. R.I.P.
I don't know. Yeah, he was great. So yeah, we get the Roy.
He was one of the great actors of my childhood. Like when I was growing up, John Ritter was in a lot of stuff, and he was great in all of it, man. Like, yeah, a lot of nostalgia for just John Ritter, really.
Yeah. So we find out we got 24 hours for our contestants, the Nables, to survive all the chaos of these television shows. If they die, their souls are taken to hell under the contract. But if they survive, they might be all right. So they go through the first door, which is these portals
contract,
between
which will come
television.
into play later.
A contract which does come into play later, and I did like this effect, this little door effect.
That was very
and
cool. I wonder how they did that.
The way they push through it, and it like fabrically like rolls over
Like
them.
it's practical, right? Like that's a practical effect.
Well, yeah, basically they probably just push themselves through like a green fabric or blue fabric, and then they just replace the screen with like static.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not a hard effect to do, but it was well done.
That's true.
Actually, it is
just green screen or whatever.
I think it is green because no wait. Can't tell. Maybe it was either green under the guy's arm or that's his pants. Either way. They push on into one of my favorite scenes in the film, which was the wrestling scene. Which
do you recognize the wrestler? I'm pretty sure I do.
Yes. Okay, so we got some wrestlers.
It's one man gang, right?
Yes,
Akeem?
it is one man gang or King or Akeem. He's the male wrestler. They have a female. She's not a wrestler. She's mostly just a stunt woman.
Stunt actress.
But they did have Lou Albino play the ring announcer and commentary.
Yeah, Lou Albino
for this scene.
Captain Lou, Mario himself.
Captain Lou Albino. So Roy's, this becomes this is like where I'm like, oh, I see where this film's going. Is Roy's gonna be needing the help, and Helen's gonna end up saving him, and all this stuff. And they sort of do that for the first half of this film. Helen ends up being the one to outsmart the
keep them alive, basically. The
Yeah.
point of all these different shows that they get put in is to kill them. Like they're supposed to like be killed in all these situations. So there's like a lot of stakes in this movie, and a couple of those scenes are actually kind of intense. Like the next one, I believe, which is Northern Overexposure, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe that's a bit later.
That's basically what happens when they go through this portal here. After Helen uses a foreign object to knock out her competitors and get the pin, they fall through the next portal. Where we get back to David and the kids.
And here's another funny meta gag that's going on here. Oh, I always remember this Max Hell thing too.
The Max Hell one?
Yeah, that always stuck with me. Because you'd see those Dolby
I've never
commercials
seen this, but like I recognize what like the reference, the whole like
it's the Dolby commercials.
TV thing, commercials. It will blow you.
It blow you away. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. But oh yeah, so another meta gag in this is that he spends all his time watching TV, and it has done absolutely nothing for him. Because like he's watched enough wrestling that he should have known just grab a friggin' steel chair and bash the guy or whatever, right? But she's coming up with all these solutions when really he's the one who should, because he's seen all this shit so many times. But she's just good on her feet, and he's kind of a bit useless, at least in the first half of this movie.
Yeah. So we get introduced. Yeah, that's the big, yeah. So we get introduced to Northern Exposure, where Eugene Levy's character Crowley, who was sucked into the TV because he was telling Spike off, or he made a crack or whatever, which he didn't like, sucked him into television. He's digging for the next portal, which he finds under this ice, and then they're attacked by wolves, which surrounds.
This scene's legit scary. Wolves are scary. Those wolves are chasing them down, man.
I guess.
Yeah.
They're not. Anyway, so this is one of the weirdest scenes. Is they're in the kitchen here. The kids are about to figure out that they're home alone, and David pulls out a box of Dunkin' Donuts from under the counter near the oven. Like
some people buy a box of donuts and keep it in their house for a couple days. There, Murphy.
What?
People buy boxes of donuts. Americans, anyway.
And he also grabs a bottle of Pepsi out of the fridge. This is when the product placement became super
product placement
to me. So apparent.
It was everywhere.
So David, being investigative, wise, wondering kid that he is, discovers his mom's watch, and then the satellite sucks his hat up and his BMX bike, which apparently this BMX bike is considered like in the world of BMX like a cherished movie idol prop. Like it's owned by a private collector and it's brought to BMX conventions to be shown off.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, I was like, wow, that's really weird and specific.
Oh man, but like I was probably the same age as that kid when this movie came out, and a BMX bike was everything back then. If
It's
you
true.
like just the
BMX bikes
words
were everything at
BMX
that age.
got you excited. You're like
It's true.
BMX, just those letters. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were badass if you had a BMX bike. We come back to Northern Exposure where Eugene Levy's losing his fingers.
I even had fingerless gloves to go with my
yeah.
BMX bike.
We get introduced to a few more shows like 30 Something to Life and the Silencer of the Lambs commercial.
That was kind of funny.
Wait, was it? I can't remember if that was my favorite scene was amongst those commercials or if it was after this stuff. But yeah, Eugene Levy makes a break for it to get attacked by wolves. He sacrifices himself, saying, I'm dead already, so it's fine. You guys get out of here. The cabin gets set on fire, and they get the ingenious idea to push the cabin over the ice to the sinkhole in the ice, which I was like, you know what? That's actually clever. This was a clever
good idea.
movie idea. Just like push the whole cabin thing.
There's actually a lot of, if you'd like wade through the product placement, there's actually a lot of clever stuff in this movie.
Yeah. And then we're introduced to the fucking cartoon animation
cartoon
show.
scene.
Yeah, the cartoon scene, which is a good like 15-20 minutes that Dave eventually clues in that his parents are in the TV. Joe's living his donut dreams to only be attacked by this robot cat.
RoboCat.
RoboCat with just some ridiculous scenes of animation. Like it was I felt this maybe went on a bit too long, but from my understanding, this
I
was
agree.
like 9 months into production before they even started filming any live action television.
Oh wow!
This was a funny gag where they get the cat trapped in the water, and she's like, before they push it, she's like, "Kids, don't try this at home. Yes, don't push electronics in bathtubs of water." Like, good lord. Then this little funny gag where it's activating lifetime. We got 10 hours left of these guys.
Like the scene where he's like hitting on her, and they're both cartoon mice, is pretty hilarious.
She's like, "You could have touched me when I was a real woman," and he's like, "What?"
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's like Clueless, man, Clueless. He's got a bit of adventure in his life, and he's all rowdy. She eventually escapes out the thing, and he's trying to figure himself out, which he then writes an Acme letter, calling in, a dog to attack to take care of the cat for him. So it's a little chaotic cartoon scene. He dips in, and this is what leads to my favorite scene.
Different
that
strokes?
made me laugh. The different strokes scene. This scene
That one's crazy
me.
too.
It was so good.
I've lost the feeling in my arm. All of a sudden, I can't see anything.
Sundays at 8. Different strokes.
Best joke in the whole movie. Best joke in the whole movie. There wasn't a single joke in this movie that made me laugh as hard as that joke.
Different strokes. That is a good one. Yeah.
It's so good. It was so good. The different strokes joke got me.
Which led to show different people having strokes.
Yeah, like he just gets old people. They're sucked into the television. And they're sitting on a couch wondering what's going on. Then they have a stroke, and then there's their episode. Like, what a quick, easy way to get a soul, I guess. So through the
this is
channel
where it's
flipping,
getting
we're
very
introduced
zeitgeist.
to Dwayne's World, the Saturday Night Dead sketch with Dwayne and what was his name? It was Garth. It was like Barf or something like that.
Barf.
I was curious because through the trailer, I thought, did they actually get Michael Myers and Dana Carvey to play the role? No, they didn't, but they were offered to do the roles, but Michael Myers and Dana Carvey couldn't do it because they were filming Wayne's World at the time. So,
which is pretty funny. This came out before Wayne's World, probably. But they still will do it. They were doing the skit on SNL for.
Well, there's a joke in like Wayne's World 2 where one of the managers calls Wayne Dwayne. So
that's true.
Yeah. But yeah, we get the I worships Satan joke with all the like,
that was a pretty funny gag, actually. Sleep.
The Sphincter Boy shirt, like the whole thing. They start giving him the.
I take it back. That's actually pretty funny. Yeah, this is a pretty funny gag.
Yeah, like this was probably one of the other few scenes that I enjoyed probably the most. They're gonna give him a poker to the eye, but he kicks it out of the way, breaks the rope, breaks free, and he's off. And then he's introduced to his Detective Roy storyline, where he's like having his inner monologue. Basically, it's like Picard on the holodeck, but just a bit
Dixon
clumsy.
Hill.
Dixon Hill. It's his Dixon Hill, but he. Okay, so
What's
this is funny.
shaking dicks? Same as always, Nikki. Martinis and skirts.
So if you notice here, the gun drops on the floor and it goes off, and it's supposed to lead you to believe that the gun is pointed at the wall and hits the wall. The gun's actually pointed at his foot here.
It is, yeah.
So he should be losing a toe, but he doesn't. We get back to introduced to Helen, who's at a hotel. She's then stolen by some gangsters and brought to the local club. Everyone's dying except for the Nables. They seem to be succeeding. They're into their 18th or 19th hour, and they're trying to.
Yeah, if they survive 24 hours, they get to go home.
Yeah, they get to go home via the contract. Pierce is like, let me take the reins. I've got some ideas, and then we're brought to a bunch of scenes.
Yeah, they also say that it's only happened once. Only one person got away, and it was just like some like gardener from Mexico or something, or Puerto Rico. He's just like some random guy.
So yeah, we get the exercises joke, the Yogi beer commercial for the kid that wants to be like their beer drinking dad without the alcohol.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And then
Kids hooked on the stuff early. Yeah.
David finds his dad.
Oh, speaking of which, hair of the dog, eh, Murphy?
Yeah, you know what? I'll have a little sippy poo myself.
Oh, Jesus, I shouldn't be doing this.
So,
tune into X-Rated, Proteus Part 1 to see why.
So yeah, David's trying to get his sister and her friends to stay out of the backyard because he can tell that this satellite dish is bad business. Proceeds to soak him with the hose. She loses his shit, and he's like, "Look at the TV, woman." And she notices her mom's on the news, and that's when she gets invested.
Classy Dane vanishes. I found that headline very funny. He's just the classy Dane.
So we're at the classic like Maltese Falcons setup at the diner. We're introduced to the neighbors again, or the surviving neighbor, and he proceeds to tell that he's been getting through the channels because he's smuggled in his own remote, and that's how he's been getting out. And you get this plot point about being able to use the remotes. Within this whole scene, this is where Roy ultimately, goes to confront Helen and this guy. Then they're attacked with, a bunch of gangster comes in with 2 Uzis. I thought I had these screenshots, but apparently I didn't. Oh yeah, okay.
Good.
So yeah, he comes through. They're all hooked in. He figures out, it's about the remote, which they end up getting after the whole shootout. Roy blindly shoots. He gets his thing, and they end up going to this French thing. Why are my screenshots all mixed up? Yeah, they end up changing channels, and they're a French Revolution. Yes,
Strangelove.
The Doctor Strangelove. This made me like ah.
I love Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, the Doctor Strangelove cameo was really nice. But yeah, these two, they get the remote. They end up in a French Revolution era where they're basically what was he, a prince or something like that, in disguise as a woman. And he's gonna get his head chopped off if they find him, which ultimately they find him. David gets the idea to I don't know where he got the idea, but he's like, I'll just hook into the satellite dish, and then he starts giving a radio signal. He's getting past the dog and all this stuff, sneaking in the neighbor's yard. While they're about to chop his head off, he breaks in, and they're like, God. He's like, Dad, is that you? And they're like, the French people think it's God. And Helen works with it, pretends it's God.
Yeah.
He tells them to let them go. At this point, Spike's losing it. He gets informed, though, that, he only has to give up Roy because Roy was the only one who put his name on the contract. So he can steal Helen.
So he's got Helen regardless. Yeah.
he's got Helen regardless. So he does that. He lets Roy go, and Roy's gone. The kids will help him, and he goes and gets Helen. And I loved this shot. This shot was amazing. This cape is
It was amazing.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This cape is humongously, ridiculously amazing, and I love the way it looked. This was
A
probably
lot
my
of the
favorite
sets
shot.
and props and costumes in this movie are excellent. Like, they
Yes,
spent a
so much
lot of
higher
money on
production. That's the thing. It's a higher production valued movie in the sets and the props and the cops, but a lot of the jokes didn't land the same way like UHF jokes land. I find. I don't
Like,
know.
they weren't
But again,
offensive
maybe
enough.
nostalgia. So yeah, we get this. We get introduced to Helen being put on the tracks, Snidely Whiplash style. Man's a classic of drama. She's tracked to the traps, and he wants to get Roy back in. Strapped to dynamite, Roy grabs the remote and heads back in like a hero. Where he has this Clint Eastwood standoff. The pallbearer wants to size him up, and yeah, he gets shot for the bullet only to land in that remote. They have their sort of standoff, and we get brought to the Star Trek scene.
I should have picked this one, I guess. Oh well.
I'm surprised you didn't pick this one, to be honest. I was like, he's surely gonna pick the Star Trek scene. Nope, not the Star Trek scene. Okay, well, there you go. So
It was hard for me to pick a scene.
That's fair, I guess.
But I should have picked the Star Trek scene.
Yes, a lot of Jeffrey Jones. He plays Worf and Data, scare enables. They set phasers, and he gets out of there to be transported into a crash test dummy scene, and it's one rapid scene after another. We get our slap shots reference with this scene where he's a hockey guy. You see the three guys do like a body check from behind. It's very slap shot reference. The driving over Miss Daisy. He's just channel flipping at this point. Then we get the Three's Company.
Reference.
Roy's trying to find his way through this chaos, and then this is this big like heroic scene where he gets to fight Spike in the fencing. He says he's a champion only to be like, well, I was second place, but either way, and they have their scrapping duel. And this movie, this was good. This was good. This was doing good up until this moment. Then I'm like, oh god, what's happening? And then I realized this was like, oh, this is the music video portion of this movie, much like we had with UHF. And we get the salt and pepper.
The movie keeps happening through the music video, which it doesn't in UHF. It's just, let's pause now for a Weird Al music video.
That's not true, because this is the salt and pepper music video. I don't know if you went back and watched this music video on its own, but this is just the music video.
Yes, but they're in it, in the movie is still
they're in the music video as well. Yes, because it's the same scene. The music video is the scene from the movie. So they just did what Weird Al did in UHF, is they had a music video and then played this scene.
That paused the movie to play a Weird Al video, whereas the movie keeps happening through this music video. It's just another set.
So, yeah, I all the same. Yeah, this scene was a bit grating for me. It went on longer than I needed it to. They're playing basically,
I don't know. John Ritter in that outfit is kind of worth the price of admission.
I mean, this look alone from John Ritter is pretty spectacular. I'm not gonna lie.
That is amazing.
As absurd as it was. But yeah, John Ritter eventually gets the remote and he sucks, Spike away, does his final dance off, and then he saves his wife. He's trying to futz with the remote, and his kids tell him to just turn off the damn remote. And apparently that works. As a thing, you get your baby.
They're like, when you don't like a show, you turn it off.
Yeah. So yeah, they're there.
Yeah. But he doesn't think like that, because they show all the scenes with him earlier where he just keeps flipping the channels. He doesn't like something, he goes to another channel.
Then we get the stereotypical dog's gonna attack him only to get sucked away scene. Poor good boy being treated terribly.
We knew that was coming.
And then their satellite dish just melts. It's like typical 92 CG era graphics melts.
Not bad actually for 92.
Not too bad, yeah. We get the final scenes where we're introduced to the dog barking at Spike, who's hanging on the chandelier, and Eugene Levy's character, legless and armless, laughing, chops it down so that he can get his comeuppance. And as you see, Eric King's character here with the smoke and the controls. He's in charge.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Dokes is awesome.
Dokes is awesome, and yeah, and now that's there. We get the final wrap ups. Roy Nabel has opened up a fencing school, and he's beating up little children with his
Found his
fencing
calling.
skills. Yeah, he found
What
his
he always
calling. He's
wanted.
put the TV down. He's brought back his TV watching, and little girl attempts some fancy move. And he's like, "Where'd you learn that?" She's like, "I saw it on TV." And he's like, "You shouldn't watch too much TV. It can get you into trouble." And then we get the credits. We're introduced to the Hell TV fall lineups like Beverly Hills 90666.
90666. That was fun.
I Love Lucifer, Golden Ghouls, Murder She Likes, Facts of Life
Murder She
Support,
Likes,
Fresh Prince of Darkness, Unmarried with Children, David Dukes of Hazzard.
It's David Dukes of Hazzard. Oh shit.
Yeah, so that's basically stay tuned.
See, the thing I like about the spoofing, like in like the fake TV shows and the things like in this compared to UHF, is that they all had a theme and a purpose. It was all like, what's the devilish version of this show? So it's like it just connected better, and
See,
I felt
okay,
it was funnier.
I get that, but like this is just like multi-interdimensional television show, which admittedly was done better on a Rick and Morty episode in the first season, you know? So like I don't know. I was a little like they were all right, but they were hellish spoofs and all that, but I felt like the UHF one was done better because even though they were foolish shows, they were very much shows that were based in the reality that they were in. They were real television shows within that universe, as opposed to this one where they're just held versions.
These two movies are apples and oranges in one way. Like one is a more like real world take, I guess. Even though the characters are like completely unreal,
it's a spoofy real world take.
Yeah, whereas this one has actually like a sci-fi theme. This is like a sci-fi.
One's clearly a spoof film, and in that realm of spoofism, and this one is very much like they wanted to be
sci-fi comedy
as a serious sort of sci-fi comedy film, you know. And it does that to a degree, you know. So like. You know,
I'm over my slight letdown. Right. Like when I watched it compared to when I was a kid, I'm like, oh, I like this better as a kid. But you know what? This movie is actually pretty good. I like Stay Tuned quite a bit. So which performance would I hold up? Oh, Eugene Levy, all day.
Yeah, Eugene Levy holds the charts up and down all day long. Like,
I do think the two stars are excellent. John Ritter and Pam Dauber are excellent in this as well, and Jeffrey Jones. Like the main four are excellent.
And, you know, Eric King.
Surprise, motherfucker.
He's not in it a whole lot.
He's not in it a lot, but the parts that he is in it are
good.
Are good.
Yeah.
He does hold it together. You know?
So I mean, this is a movie filled with excellent actors and excellent comedic actors. So they you could have cast this cast in UHF. UHF still would have been like a badly written movie, but it would have been better. Because you'd have real actors doing these things. Like if you give Weird Al's character to Eugene Levy, now there's a movie. Like, I mean, a weird pick, mind you, but like Eugene Levy's just gold every time. He's gold every time.
I don't know. Yeah. I think UHF is a classic and iconic in its own. But let's get some movie morsels first. Stay tuned. What do you say?
Let's do it. Yeah. Oh, one quick thing, because it'll only take us a second there, Murphy. The setting aesthetic, excellent. They spent money on this one. Everything looks great.
Yes, it's a time capsule of the 90s, easily. Yeah.
Like when they spent money.
90s,
this is what you get when you spent money in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, if you spent like on an A- production, it wasn't like a blockbuster film by any chance, but
no, it's not like Terminator 2 money. No, that's what you get when you spend money in the 90s.
True.
Still the best CGI ever.
This is what you get when you spend product
Terminator
placement
2.
money. This is what you get when you spend product placement.
Exactly.
Money. So speaking of product placements, when sending away for something from Acme as a cartoon mouse, the envelope Roy is mailing as a stamp featuring the likeness of cartoon legend Chuck Jones, who supervised the animation
Oh
sequence of the
wow,
film. Yeah, well, Chucky
Chuck
Jones
Jones
handled that.
is the greatest voice actor of all time.
Which, honestly probably is an attribution to why that animated scene was probably one of the better scenes in the whole film.
Yeah.
Because
Like who I forget. There's a video on YouTube. There's a great voice actor. It may even be Hank Azaria saying why. No, I'm thinking of Mel Blanc, not Chuck Jones. Chuck Jones drew Looney Tunes. Mel Blanc
Yep.
was the voice actor. Never mind.
Yeah, Mel
Never
Blanc was
mind.
the voice actor. Peter Hyams
Yeah.
had been so captured by the script that he repeatedly badgered Morgan Creek executives until they agreed to let him direct the movie. As I mentioned earlier about the two trailers, the Three's Company spoof, I'll skip over that one. On the name board in the control room in hell, there's an office message saying to remember that Tuesday is Saddam Hussein Appreciation Day.
Oh my God, I missed that. Good Lord.
Tim Burton was offered to direct this film, but turned it down to direct Batman Returns in 1992 instead.
I'm glad. This doesn't strike me as a Burton movie. It would have come out a lot different.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, Mike Myers and Dana Carvey were offered to play the Dwayne's Garf on Dwayne's Underworld.
See, though, if you brought in Mike Myers and Dana Carvey, you would have had to make that scene at least twice as long. I mean,
twice as long.
You got
twice
those
as
guys
long.
there. Yeah.
But it would have been twice as expensive because those guys there in that kind of makeup, ridiculous.
Yeah.
So the producers wanted Dan Aykroyd for the part of Roy Nabel.
I'm down with that too, man. I love Aykroyd. Everything Aykroyd does is gold too, man.
It's surprising how many films you watch where Dan Aykroyd was like pitched to be the lead actor.
Well, he was a hot commodity, man. Like he can act and do comedy and do music. Like he's just a friggin' renaissance man, Dan Aykroyd, and create damn fine vodka.
I mean, it's all right vodka. I mean,
You don't like Crystal Skull? Oh, it's good vodka, man.
I don't know. The time
Goes
I
down
had
like
it,
water.
it might have bettered over the years, but like I remember like the first year or two I had it, it was not my
That's
jam.
pure, man. No artificial sugars. They just mix a little corn into the mash, and that's where it gets its sweetness. I'm telling you, not bad stuff.
Maybe I'll try another bottle if sometime soon. The studio, speaking of more casting, the studio had Richard Dreyfuss and Tracy Ullman set to star as Roy and Helen, but the plan was dropped since it would have cost an additional $500,000 for their salaries. So could have been a very different
Interesting.
movie for Richard Dreyfuss.
Tracy Ullman may have been a bit distracting. She can be quite big. Richard Dreyfuss would have been fine, I think, as Nabel. He reminds me of John Ritter a lot in his acting style.
Yeah. In the wrestling sequence, the other announcer sitting next to Lou Albino looks suspiciously like Vince
Albano.
Jr.
He's not an albino.
Lou Albino.
It's Albano.
Okay, so yeah, all right. So I had a mistype.
I grew up
here.
with Lou Albano. Trust me.
Yeah,
it's Lou
I
Albano.
got a mistype here. That was my bad. So it looks suspiciously like Vince McMahon Jr., who actually was a play-by-play announcer for the WWF starting in '71. So I have basically every show listed here. I won't go through all of them because we've already been through them, but I'll read off the ones that we might have missed, like Underworld Wrestling League, Autopsies of the Rich and Famous.
That's funny.
Meet the Mansons. What was the other ones here? Home Shoplifting Channel, Off with His Head, Unnamed Western Theme Show, both 310 to Yuma and Clint Eastwood's The Man with No Name are referenced. HV1 News, Hockey Game, Angels vs. Devils, Unnamed Medieval Period Show.
That's pretty funny as well, actually.
Yeah. A lot of unnamed stuff. But yeah. Cinematography by Peter Hyams, edited by Peter E. Berger, music by Bruce Broughton, release date August 14, 1992, at a brief runtime of 88 minutes, with a budget of...
Another strength.
With a budget of roughly estimated $15 to $20 million. Box office made $12 million. This movie was a box office bomb. compared to UHF, which actually made money back. So.
Oh, I'm sure by now they've made their money back off it once you countered bringing DVD sales and everything like that.
Are you saying UHF or Stay Tuned has not made their money
Stay
back?
tuned. Like it only lost $2 million at the box office.
I've never heard of the movie Stay Tuned until you're like, we're watching Stay Tuned, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
It was an obscure movie, but it was on the movie network all the time.
I watched the movie network consistently, and I don't
it was
think
on
I
there
ever remember
all the
it being
time.
there once.
Oh yeah, it was on there all the time. Yeah,
if you say so.
So yeah, I didn't have it on VHS or anything. I watched it on there.
So yeah. So what would you say the rewatchability for Stay Tuned is?
It's not that high for me. Like it worked for me because I hadn't seen it in like probably like 20 some years. So it I guess I'd give it some rewatchability, but not every year like you do with UHF for some crazy reason. But
I don't know. It's a comfort movie for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I have those as well. That's what Medicine Man is for me. Rewatchability. Yes, but it's not a high rewatchability. I mean, once you get the gags, you get the gags. After 20 years, I forgot the gags, so they were funny again. But like that's the same with a lot of comedies. Like a lot of comedies, you need space in between the rewatches, I find.
Yeah, I don't think I can. I don't think I see myself rewatching this film in the next 5 years. Maybe like 10 years from now. Maybe if I have like a kid and I want to show them something ridiculous.
And the performances,
like the 90s.
And the performances make it rewatchable, which I would say UHF doesn't.
Again, this is apples and oranges because I think the performances in UHF are far more entertaining to watch than the performances in Stay Tuned. I found the performances in Stay Tuned empty and dry and like a commercial for the most part. Like it just felt like
all the side characters for sure, because that's what they were. Like that was purposeful as well. Like everything in this movie is on purpose, but like the main characters are very good. They're not empty. Like even Eugene Levy, who's like this weird demon or something. You end up kind of like relating and feeling.
I've never thought I'd see Eugene Levy as a Crowley, but you know, I enjoyed Eugene Levy, and you know,
surprise, motherfucker.
Eric King. I enjoyed Eric King.
Yeah, fair enough. Does it hold up? Yeah, I think it does. I think it's kind of prophetic. Again, it's not as good as I remember, but I do think it holds up. It was prophetic about the screen addiction and other things. And the performances are very good. Sets are good for the time. Like even like now, like it just looks good. Yeah, it holds up. It's memorable. Like a lot of those scenes, you'll remember these scenes. A lot of these scenes because they just stick with you. Even just like it'll blow your mind or blow you away. Like
I mean, some of them might stick with me. Like the Different Strokes one is gonna stick with me more than any of them. I'm at first watch, I was pretty like, okay, like it's kind of entertaining. It's a little boring. Out of all the movies, it's definitely at the bottom of the list for me. But that being said, yes, the movie does hold up. For me, in the sense that like visually, it's surprisingly holds up considering how dated it is. I thought the graphics would be a little like, especially the
It's only 3 years after UHF.
Yeah, right. So like the setting and the aesthetics they're gorgeous. Like they're really well built and well done, and everything is very seamless in the way it transitions the scene. So it's a well made movie.
And well acted.
Yeah.
For the main actors. And it's clever. Like there's a lot of depth in in its layers of humor and storytelling. There's like some depth there, and like especially with a lot of
I don't
meta
know
stuff.
about depth. I feel like it was all pretty on the surface for me. All like the whole
Well, like for example, of like how the things like how his wife was so much better at all that stuff than he was. They don't explain that out to you, but if you pay attention, you realize that why isn't he the one that knows these things since he watches TV all day? Like, there's a lot of things in this movie, like again, which I find a lot of modern movies expect their audiences to be stupid, especially modern TV shows. They just expect everyone to be dumb, so they have to explain everything to you and hit you over the head with it and hang a lantern on everything. You get it? You get this, right? You get this? You get it, right? You get this. This movie doesn't do any of that, and a lot of older movies don't. They expect you to be intelligent, and if not, watch it again, and then maybe you'll get it. Like, and I feel like this movie did a bit of that. Doesn't hold your hand.
I don't argue with
It's
that
like,
point by any means. You're not wrong there. I feel like, again, a lot of that stuff was still on the surface. Like, I was catching a lot of that subtext throughout this film, and it's just not like, I think they might have had maybe room for more depth, I guess, but again, the only reason it felt so surface was because of it felt like a product placement movie. Like it was a film.
Again, but that's on purpose. Like that veneer of shallowness is on purpose again. Like everything in this movie is very tight. It's very tight. Like for a movie that is just loose threaded chaos, it's very cohesive in its storytelling.
You know, and I think that is an excellent segue from the chaos and cohesive chaos to the tight knit glory that is our third movie of the night.
Our third movie here in Theater 3, we have Good Night and Good Luck from 2005, starring David Strathairn, George Clooney, Patricia Clarkson, who's a cousin of my cousin, so we're basically related, Robert Downey Jr., and Jeff Daniels. Top-notch, directed by George Clooney. Top-notch cast there. Yeah, when I saw Patricia Clarkson, I was like, yeah.
Seriously, A+ cast.
Yeah, she's my mom's first cousin's cousin. First cousin or something like that. I don't know,
interesting. Like so she's a member of the UFP, basically.
Yeah, basically. Patricia Clarkson.
All right, let's get in the trailer here. I'm going to go run to the kitchen and grab a beer while I pop this on.
All right. I'm going to enjoy this trailer. This is a good movie. This is easily the best movie of tonight. Like Murphy and I will agree there. I'll tell you that. And a surprise. I hadn't really been.
Let me see this.
It's a loyalty oath to America.
Are you now, or have you ever been?
The joke at first. Moreau signed it.
Moreau signed it? If you don't sign this, are you and I a target?
If I don't sign it, they'll fire me.
10 seconds. Ready on camera, then.
Good evening.
Any man who protects communists.
This is my favorite David Strathairn performance. He's been in a lot of good stuff.
Rumor and hearsay and innuendo.
Are my children going to be asked to denounce me? Are they going to be judged on what their father was labeled? I see a chain reaction that has no end.
Charges were in a sealed envelope.
This is McCarthy era, the Red Scare. Everyone's
the
a
people who have
communist.
seen the contents of that envelope might have a better idea of what makes someone a danger to his country, or do you think it should just be you that decide?
Who are the people? Are they elected? Are they appointed? Is it you?
I've searched my conscience, and I can't find any justification for this.
Our next show is going to be about Senator McCarthy. We're going to go right at him.
This is back when news was news. Journalists were journalists.
We will not walk in fear one of another.
This could have been
This is
in
no
last
time for men who
episode,
oppose
or
Senator
journalists.
McCarthy's methods. Keep silent.
Mr. Edward R. Murrow has made repeated attacks upon me and those fighting communists.
Somebody's going to go down.
You're going to get audited this year.
Not me, you.
McCarthy wants April 6th.
I will not be deterred.
He's going to come after me.
Do you understand the position you're putting us in?
Let's walk very carefully through these next few moments.
Why don't you just fire me, Bill?
Go after Joe Kennedy. We'll pay for it.
Murrow is the symbol, the leader, and the cleverest of the jackal pack, engaged in propaganda for communist causes.
Okay, fellas, here we go. We might as well go down swinging. We're gonna go with the story, because the terror is right here in this room.
10 seconds. 5, 4, 3.
Robert Downey Jr. Franklin.
We cannot defend freedom abroad by deserting it at home. Good night, and good luck.
It's hilarious. It's just like, that's his job. But back then, you didn't even have to quit smoking your cigarette when you're doing your job as a news anchor. You can just sit there with your smoke and like do your freaking news broadcast. Smoking was so accepted back in the day. It's
So
insane.
taking on the role of our Murrow like is a heavy task because Murrow is a chain smoker. Stratton is a non-smoker. He is a
well, they weren't.
non-smoker.
They
Well,
wouldn't
he
have been
was
cigarettes.
apparently
They have like fake cigarettes.
they've got like you can get these like Chinese herbal cigarettes. So I'm like, man, there's been a lot of herbal cigarette smoking, but apparently from the morsels I was going through, Murrow was smoked pipe tobacco in his prop cigarettes to portray Edward R. Murrow. And apparently there's a lot of scenes where he just didn't exhale, so he's like holding in smoke and shit. So like he put himself through it to film that in that sense that he basically
He's so good in this.
became a chain smoker. Oh my god, he's so good in this film. Okay.
Everybody is. I mean, some of them aren't in it much. Robert Downey Jr. is not in it very much. Neither is Jeff Daniels. They're good at what they do.
So when the subject was TVs, and I was looking for like films about television and stuff, this one kind of came up high on the list, and I was like, okay, this could be a huge tonal shift from UHF and Stay Tuned, which it was, which
Needed.
was refreshing,
Much needed.
a much refreshing and needed tonal shift. I was when prior to going into this film, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this. This is gonna be a bit of a slag, and admittedly, my first watch through, it was a bit of a slag, and I was losing sort of my attention, and I got distracted.
Opposite for
and
me.
I didn't quite follow the film, but I recognized that, and I was like, I need to watch this film again. So I did.
Oh, wow.
I immediately watched
Doubled
the film
down.
again. I doubled down on the film again, and on my second watch through, I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. This is an incredible
It is
film.
great.
From
Great
like
movie.
the cinematography to
Black and white was a beautiful choice, by the way. Like, this movie would have felt out of place. It would have felt more like modern actors reenacting a historical time. Whereas they filmed it black and white, it put you right in there, man. You were in that world and in that time.
So the film was shot on color film on a grayscale set, right? But they desaturated it in post-production and then released on black and white print stock. So I mean, yeah.
So this movie is up my alley because I'm a big history buff, and so as soon as I realized, I didn't know this movie was about this sort of in journalism too. So yeah, this was up my alley. This movie had to remarkably fail for me not to like it, and it didn't. It fired on all cylinders, and I love this movie. So let's get into this.
I was surprised. Yeah. So we start the film off with all
His
smiles
cousin Patricia.
Cousin Patricia, and I forget this guy's name. I meant to look it up actually. Let me get that cast list up so I'm not completely lost here when I'm going through my plot.
Just a public service announcement. We're gonna yada yada slightly more next episode on these movie breakdowns because we're still aiming to get this under 3 hours and closer to 2 hours. This podcast. So
yeah,
I yada yada too much. Murphy's the other extreme. There's a nice middle ground in there where we'll eventually.
I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I yada yada half the movie that angered Murphy. So now Murphy took over the role.
I'm going through maybe a bit too much detail, admittedly.
Bit too much.
So yeah, Good Night, Good Luck is a 2005 historical drama film directed by George Clooney, who also wrote and co-starred in the film. Story set in the early 1950s during the height of the Red Scare and the anti-communist hysteria that gripped the United States.
Interesting though, because one of your morsels from last episode was that Clooney wanted to remake Network, which is similar to this in a way. And of course, you can't remake Network because it all came true. So maybe I wonder if this is what he went with instead.
This is so apparently he wanted to make this into like a live stage play at one point. And the other
It
thing
easily
about
could
this
have
film,
been. You could just have David Strathairn do it as a one-man play if you wanted to.
yeah. The other thing about this film is George Clooney's father was a journalist, and George Clooney said that he was so nervous about showing this film to his dad. When his dad was done watching the film, he stood up, put his hand on George's shoulder, and he was like, "You got it right." So like, that was George Clooney's like awesome. Everything I worked for. So this probably was his huge motivation to do something like Network. And
He's a good filmmaker, man, George Clooney.
Yeah. And George Clooney plays the character of Fred Friendly, who is the producer for
Friend Friendly, yeah. Oh, Fred Friendly. Mr. Friendly.
So yeah, the film portrays a real-life conflict between CBS newsman Edward R. Murrow, played by David Stratton, and Senator Joseph McCarthy, who led the anti-communist witch hunt, which is not portrayed by any character because all of the clips of Joseph McCarthy are actual historical footage, and
which I thought was a very strong choice as well.
Yeah, it was a strong choice and a leading cause as to why all of this film is in grayscale and black and white, so that they could blend those real life clips in with like the TV productions that they did, and they did it to such an excellent degree. So yeah, Edward Murrow's getting basically an award at the communication.
It's the end of the movie.
Well, it's the bookend of the movie. It's his bookend. Yeah. It's bookending the movie. It's his introduction to him getting the award at this communication thing on October 25th, 1958. And he starts off his like introduction where, the things he's about to say probably people aren't going to be happy about. And we cut back to, October 14th in 1953 at CBS Studios, where we get which was one of my favorite cameos in Alex Bornstein showing up. She plays Natalie, a secretary character. But yeah, so McCarthy led the communist witch hunt, and the movie opens with Murrow and his producers, Fred and Friendly, preparing for their weekly news program, See It Now. They decide to air a segment about an Air Force armed officer named Milo Radulovich, who is being unfairly accused of being a communist and was facing a court-martial. While this is all happening, we're introduced to Robert Downey Jr.'s character, whose name is... What's his name?
Yeah, it's not super important.
Well, he's somewhat.
Yeah, they're a married
Washaba.
couple.
Yeah, Joe Washaba is married to
Cousin Patricia.
Cousin Patricia. Yeah, we'll call her Cousin Patricia. So they're sort of having this inter-office affair where in the day, you're not allowed to be married to employees. So these guys are preparing for the segment about Air Force officer named Milo Radulovich, who was being unfairly accused of being a communist and was facing a court-martial. As the segment airs, Murrow and Friendly are already being criticized by the superiors at CBS for being too critical of McCarthy, who was at the time the most powerful figure in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile...
Just because he was the loudest.
Yeah. And this actually is... this leads up to probably one of... Oh, no, wait. This wasn't my favorite scene. This was going to be one of my favorite scenes, I think.
There's a lot of good scenes in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget the line that was delivered here, but it made me like chuckle. I was like, that was a good one. This will probably be my favorite, but I ultimately went with something different. Murrow and Friendly are being criticized by their superiors at CBS for being too critical of McCarthy, who was at the time most powerful figure in DC. Meanwhile, McCarthy, played by himself through archival footage, launches a series of attacks on Murrow and his colleagues, accusing them of being communist sympathizers and traitors to the country. And Murrow responds by dedicating a whole episode of See It Now to exposing McCarthy's
really bad, baseless accusations, though. He's like, because eventually Murrow responds to all those. And he's just like, he accuses me of being a member of this organization. I've never been a member of this organization. I've never applied to be a member of this organization. It's all just like horseshit. like a lot of this stuff was.
Yeah. So these guys go through their episode, and this was leading to one of my favorite scenes here, which we'll get into. Basically, he's given the spiel about
Perhaps you will
McCarthy
permit me to read a few sentences just at the end, because I would like to say rather precisely what I mean. We have told the Air Force that we will provide facilities for any comment, criticism, or corrections.
Isn't this my favorite scene?
In regard to the case of Milo Radulovich.
No, this is mine. Yours is different.
We are unable to judge the charges
They just
against
both
the
happen
lieutenant's
to kind
father
of be
or
the same.
sister because neither we, nor you, nor they, nor the lawyers, nor the lieutenant know precisely what was contained in that manila envelope.
Such
Was it
good
hearsay,
delivery.
rumor, gossip, slander, or hard ascertainable
The
facts that could be
pinlight
backed by
eye
credible
highlights in
witnesses?
this movie, I love.
We do not know. We believe the son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, even though that iniquity be proved, and in this case it was not. But we believe, too, that this case illustrates the urgent need for the armed forces to communicate more fully than they have so far done the procedures and regulations to be followed in attempting to protect the national security and the rights of the individual at the same time. Whatever happens in this whole area of the relationship between the individual and the state, we will do it ourselves. It cannot be blamed on Malenkov.
Oh man, I wish the news was still the news.
Allies. And it seems to us, that is Fred Friendly and myself, that this is a subject.
Yeah, they
that
take
we
it all. They
argued
take the
about
brunt of
endlessly.
everything, him and Fred.
Yeah.
Good night.
They even
Good
pay because like a bunch of the advertisers pull their ads, so they're just like, well, how much are those ads? And they're like $3,000. He's just like, me and Fred will pay for it, and Fred's not even there to agree to this shit. So he's just like tells Fred later, it's like, oh yeah, you're on the hook for $1,500. Just a lot in the 50s.
Just absolutely, just like throwing him under the bus, you know.
Oh yeah, it was pretty fun. Their relationship was pretty funny.
So
the thing about this though,
yeah,
this scene, the point he's making there really is, even if all the things McCarthy generally say about people are true, they're still meaningless. Like, it's like, since when is exposing yourself to ideas a crime? Yeah, you know what I mean? Even if you went to a communist meeting, what's wrong with learning about communism?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's all just so ridiculous and baseless and witch hunty. Just like they might as well start throwing people in the river to see if they float.
Yeah. No, it's just they're literally jumping on anybody. It's like, oh, was that meeting any really related to communism? You're working for the Russians? Well, we're gonna put you on trial and take your jobs away and like throw you under the bus and just completely like ruin your life. And it got to such a ridiculous degree that like thankfully Murrow and Fred were like, okay, we got to talk about this. We got to let the people know. This is to anybody that's like under the age of, let's say, 25. And this is generous. McCarthy is equivalent to like Alex Jones or like Ben Shapiro, but he was actually
Those people
a
were
senator.
actually politicians. So no, he's actually closer to Donald Trump.
He's closer to Donald Trump and like Ted Cruz and stuff. True, yeah.
Yeah,
But he has the sensationalism of like Alex Jones and Ben Shapiro in that sort of like sense, and he was.
Where they'll just pull shit out of their ass.
Communism. Yeah, exactly right. So it was really cool.
But again,
them. So so these guys basically they do their broadcast, and then we get introduced to Ray Wise as Don Hollenbeck.
Ray Wise,
who
another actor I enjoy a lot. Ray Wise has done some good guest spots on Star Trek as well. Great actor.
Yeah, he plays Hollenbeck, a great portrayal of Hollenbeck, in my opinion.
His story is very sad.
It is very sad. So yeah,
I love these little cuts of the singer singing jazz too. I'm all about that.
Yeah, a quick little movie morsel about that. Precisely every 23 minutes, the standard running time of television shows from the 1950s. The film is punctuated by a jazz song performed by Diana Reeves.
Awesome.
Diana Reeves here also plays a jazz singer in Guilty by Suspicion from 1991, which also deals with McCarthyism. So, yeah, Diane Reeves rocking it with these like jazz portions every 23 minutes, almost on the spot. There's a lot of time jumping in this film. You know, they're going to like these key moments, which you know is all good and stuff.
Which we can do here to speed up the yada yada as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. So the tensions mount. Murrow and his team must decide whether to continue the coverage of McCarthy and risk their careers and the future of their network, or back down and avoid further confrontation. The film also explores the personal lives of the characters, including Murrow's relationship with his wife, Janet, played by Tate Donovan, and the challenges faced by CBS executive William Paley, played by Frank Langella, and Sid Mickelson, played by Jeff Daniels. as they try to balance the network's obligations to its shareholders with its journalistic responsibilities. Uh, the climax of the film comes when Murrow and McCarthy finally face off in a live television debate. McCarthy tries to defend his actions, but Murrow manages to expose his lies and inconsistencies. The public turns against him. And I believe this was your favorite scene. If I'm wrong, I might be wrong. But this is where we get up to your favorite scene.
Earlier, the senator asked, "Upon what meat does this our Caesar feed?" Had he looked 3 lines earlier in Shakespeare's Caesar, he would have found this line, which is not altogether inappropriate. "The fault, dear
line.
Brutus, is not in our stars,
but in ourselves.
No one familiar with the history of this country can deny that congressional committees are useful. It is necessary to investigate before legislating, but the line between investigating and persecuting is a very fine one, and the junior senator from Wisconsin has stepped over it repeatedly. We must not confuse dissent with disloyalty. We must remember always that accusation is not proof, and that conviction depends upon evidence and due process of law.
See, this,
we will not walk
in the internet age, people should listen to this
we will not
speech a
be
little
driven
bit.
by fear into an age
Accusations
of
are not
we
proof.
dig deep in our history and our doctrine, and remember that we are not descended from fearful men, not from men who feared to write, to associate, to speak, and to defend the causes that were for the moment unpopular. This is no time for men who oppose Senator McCarthy's methods to keep silent, or for those who approve. We can deny our heritage and our history, but we cannot escape responsibility for the results. We proclaim ourselves, indeed, as we are, the defenders of freedom wherever it continues to exist in the world, but we cannot defend freedom abroad by deserting it at home. The actions of the junior senator from Wisconsin have caused alarm and dismay amongst our allies abroad, and given considerable comfort to our enemies. And whose fault is that? Not really his. He didn't create this situation of fear. He merely exploited it, and rather successfully. Cassius was right. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. Good night, and good luck.
I love that ending too. Good night and good luck is a perfect thing to say at the end of it. He's just, man, this guy's so classy.
Kills it.
So yeah, I love that. Like I said, I love Shakespeare. I love history, so that worked for me. I've always loved that line from Julius Caesar, which was the first Shakespeare play I ever read, and they've used that in Star Trek as well. Garrick says it actually. Yeah. And so again, love it. Whenever that line shows up in anything, I get excited. And it was just a great scene overall. So yeah, that's my scene for sure.
So yeah, McCarthy tries to defend his actions, but Murrow manages to expose his lies and inconsistencies, and the public turns against him. Murrow's reporting on McCarthy is credited with helping to bring about his downfall, and the film serves as a powerful reminder of importance on a free press and the dangers of government overreach and propaganda. Other key characters in this scene, this is where they're told that he's being brought in front of, or that McCarthy's basically being brought in front of Senate for his accusations, and that he might get in. Everybody sort of celebrates, but at this time they also find out that Ray Wise's character, Holland Breck, has committed suicide via gas inhalation.
And he tried to find a different way out. Like he was feeling the stress and the pressure from all of this, and he goes to Murrow and he says, "Look, man, I need you to like fight these people that are coming after me." And he's just like, "I can't fight 2 wars. I can fight McCarthy or I can fight them. You know, I'm fighting McCarthy." He's just like, "So just, don't watch TV." He tells him, "Just go home. Don't read the papers. Like, just live your life." And this guy can't manage to do that, unfortunately. But, this happened in the McCarthy area. Like people, because again, accusations, this isn't the internet age where you could just like type on the internet and try to find out if the accusations are true. People would just believe it. They're like, well, if it's said, it must be true. Yeah. It's, yeah.
get that sort of like
Just get them.
shocking realization. Holland breaks down, and it all just sort of, you get the fallout between all this, where Murrow and Friendly more or less get their comeuppance. Other key characters in the film include Joe Wersherba, played by Robert Downey Jr., Murrow's trusted colleague, and Shirley Wersherba, played by cousin Patricia Clarkson. Joe's wife and a member of Murrow's team, and Don Hollenbeck, played by Ray Wise, another CBS reporter, who becomes a target of the McCarthy's attacks. Throughout the film, the pressure on Murrow and his teammate mounts as they face not only McCarthy's attacks, but also the fear of paranoia of the era. They must navigate their own relationships and personal lives while also navigating the complex politics of the media and the government around them. There's,
and he loses. Murrow loses in the end, in a way.
Yeah, Murrow loses in the end.
He wins in the public opinion in what he was trying to do, but he gets shit canned.
Yeah, basically, he's for the cost of his show, he's getting cut out for basically CBS version of reality television at this point. Joe and Patricia,
even before that, they get better ratings when he just interviews somebody, like some celebrity that he has no interest in doing. He's just like, I hate these friggin' celebrity interviews.
Yeah, well,
that's where the ratings come from. So they're like, you owe me 3 more celebrity interviews, dick. Like,
yeah, that was his trade-off for doing the news articles about McCarthy and Regulio. I probably just pronounced that name wrong. But yeah, that was his trade-off to do celebrity interviews. We get the scene here with Robert Downey's Joe and Patricia Shirley Wishaba. They're confronted by Jeff Daniels, who's like, listen, we're making cutbacks. Save somebody's job. One of you step down, which Joe does without question.
He's like, you're married, and that's against company policy. So it's like,
all know
you both go or one of you go. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, Joe does the honorable thing and he bows out. Later to be found, he actually ended up getting back to CBS. That's one of my movie morsels. I'll touch on that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, these guys basically face the Pied Piper. They're told that they got like 3 more shows left, and Murrow and Friendly, they don't regret it. Goodbye and Good Luck features strong performances from his cast, including Stratton's portrayal of Murrow as a principled and fearless journalist, and Clooney's turn as a determined producer stands by him. It's a compelling historical drama that illuminates a crucial moment in American history. Its relevance and resonance continue to be felt today. The film serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of journalism in a free society and the dangers of censorship and propaganda.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super relevant today. Like, this is a great movie. Yeah, that was a nice, brisk go through the plot there, Murphy. Well done. Well done, sir.
I had the other 2 written out, but I got so caught up in playing with the screenshots, I just kind of went off the cuff, and I was like, let's see how these go, and I just went too long. So I'll just stick with the written stuff from here on out.
Okay. Very good. I mean, an hour about UHF, too long.
I don't think so.
15 minutes. 15 minutes would have been great. Which performance would you hold up?
I mean, how can you not think Stratton's performance? The man... Strathern. David Strathairn. Strathairn. Anyway, David's portrayal in this film, there's a reason this man was nominated an Oscar. There's probably a reason why.
Oh, for this was he?
Oh, yeah, he was nominated for an Oscar for this performance. It's his only Oscar nom, and yeah, it's good Lord, wow, such a strong, powerful. There wasn't a moment I was like, wow. I just couldn't. I wasn't sucked in by every word he said, every moment he was on screen, every puff of cigarette, every pinpoint glint of light in his eye. There was one scene early on where they're in the dark room watching dailies, and there's just literally pinhole light reflections in his eye, and I'm like, man, the light they're using must be 300 feet back or something. I was, as a cinematographer, I was enamored with
he's flawless in this role, and he's even funny. In the scenes where he's not on camera and they're just in the writer's room or whatever, he cracks jokes and makes the group laugh and stuff. He's definitely a great character. So yeah, I'll have to agree with you, David Strathairn. I'll give a shout out to Cousin Patricia. You're muted, Murphy.
Sorry, I was So yeah, Cousin Patricia. Her although those scenes are brief, she was fun too.
Yeah, she's good in everything. Well, let's get to some. Well, the setting aesthetic, gorgeous. Black and white was the way to go.
It was really hard for me not
the
to
sets
take a
look old.
screenshot of every frame in this film.
Yeah.
Of every single frame of this film. It was really hard for me not to take a screenshot because everything was like a painting. It was just.
I think it's
phenomenally shot.
Yeah. I think it's good that we went through the plot quickly because I think people should go watch this and enjoy it. Like, so the less we talked about it, the better. We spoiled some major points, but like,
hey Trek,
go watch this movie. Hey Trek reviewer.
So yeah, no, it's supremely great film. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. It was the best movie.
What is the best movie snack?
Junior,
I mean, it's popcorn. I'm a classic
mints.
guy.
Junior mints, baby.
How many Junior mints can you eat in a sitting?
At least during a movie. Yeah, I could eat a whole box.
Oh my God, that's no good. All that.
I mean,
Junior mint
to
on
be
your
fair,
stomach in one sitting?
used to. I used to. I can't eat Junior mints anymore now. There's, the milk product in them. I don't eat them anymore. But back in the day, Junior mints were my go-to. Actually, you know what? The best movie snack is, Pizza Hut mini pizzas.
Nothing from Pizza Hut is the best anything.
No, bruh. I'm telling you, the Empire theaters when they had the Pizza Hut in the Bears Lake Theater, right?
I remember.
Their mini pizzas. My grandfather and I would get a mini pizza
I used to get
every
them.
movie. They were so.
They just tasted
good,
like
dude.
McDonald's pizza.
That's why they were so fucking good, dude. Like, come on. Like, do you not?
I'll admit, when I was a kid,
pizza.
I loved both those pizzas.
God damn, McDonald's.
Yeah, actually,
pizza
when
was...
McDonald's got rid of their pizza, I haven't been to McDonald's since.
Yeah,
I was like 12.
I shit you not. Even as a vegan, if McDonald's is like, we're bringing back McDonald's pizza, I'd be like, okay, I will.
You're gonna go get one into me.
I will get one. I will get one. I will sacrifice my veganism to taste this childhood once again, just once, and I will take 50 lashes for it if I must. But goddamn, I'll
give you 10 or 15 of those 50.
You do enough of that verbally, sir.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, aesthetics were amazing. Let's get into some movie morsels, shall we?
Yeah, we. See?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Yeah, popcorn's all-time classic, hands down. So yeah, movie morsels for good night and good luck. In the film, Joe and Shirley Rashaba's secret marriage is found out, and Joe voluntarily quits to avoid being fired. Joe Rashaba would spend 6 years writing for the New York Post before returning to CBS when CBS policies regarding married coworkers had changed. He would be one of the original producers for another hit news show, 60 Minutes.
Oh, I thought you might say 60 Minutes. Well.
When William Paley, Frank Langella, meets with Edward R. Murrow and Fred Friendly.
Angela. I'll handle the names on this show. Whenever somebody's name comes up, I'll say it, and then you do the rest of the plot.
That's fair. Okay, I'm cool with that because I'm struggling. So yeah, Fred Friendly in his office to tell them that he's moving their show to Sunday afternoons. He replies to one of Murrow's objections with the line, "You should teach journalism, you and Mr. Friendly." In fact, years after leaving CBS, Friendly would go on to teach journalism at Columbia University. Each morning, George Clooney would gather his cast members together and give them copies of the newspapers from that day in 1953.
That's a good idea.
He then give them an hour and a half working on old manual typewriters to copy out the stories from the paper. He would then hold an improvised news conference with hidden cameras in which the cast members would then pitch their stories to the editor just like a real newsroom. So, yeah.
Some method shit there.
Super method. I mentioned the 23 minutes jazz routines with Diane Reeves, David Stratton not smoking. During the DVD commentary During the DVD commentary for this film, George Clooney says that about 20% of the test audience had never heard of Joseph McCarthy before, and they wanted to know the identity of the actor playing him. when McCarthy appears. Of course, the actual
That's
footage of the real
crazy, because that would have been an American test audience, and they should know. They should know that.
Joseph Ray McCarthy, 1908 to 1957, was the Republican junior senator from Wisconsin from 1947 to 57 when he died in office. I wonder if he died actually in office, or
He died of extreme paranoia.
yeah, or maybe the
On a
the
case.
Reds actually got him.
Maybe the Reds. He was right all along.
I mentioned earlier, George was extremely nervous about showing this to his father, Nick, a newsman himself. Nick Clooney got up after watching it and said, "You got it right, kid." Initially, the famous concluded catchphrase, "Good night and good luck," that became the title of the film, was a habit Edward R. Murrow kept from his London years as a war reporter for the radio. Then British people under
good luck is
constant,
something you'd want.
under constant night German bombings, systematically ended their conversations with the very same words, uncertain they would meet again.
It's another thing McCarthy threw at Murrow. He's just like, "Oh, this communist from Britain loves Murrow's work," and he's like, "Dude, he loved my war reporting when I was in there doing war reporting." Like, what?
It's like you completely misconstrued it. So the entire set was built on one floor. The elevator interior was built on a turntable, so it would be rotated to a new floor during unbroken shots. In one scene, I thought this was clever. In one scene, the CBS records office is represented by a false wall that was then raised out of shot while the door was closed. So it's like, that's just good stage management there. And then the final one, and you have to wait to hear this, but you'll come back to it. So most of the text, Edward R. Murrow's speech, bookending the movie here. I'm going to bring up the screenshot for this because I wanted to showcase the scene, but if you want to see this scene, go watch the movie. But yeah, for the most of the text of Edward R. Murrow's speech, bookending the movie, is taken word for word from the actual keynote address he delivered in the 1958 Radio Television News DA. I don't know what the D stands for, and the A, I don't know what the DA stands for. Convention. The actual conclusion in the speech followed Murrow's line about television being used strictly for entertainment rather than education, and being nothing more than wires and lights in a box. It went as follows: "There is a great and perhaps decisive battle to be fought against ignorance, intolerance, and indifference. This weapon of television could be useful. Stonewall Jackson, who knew something about the use of weapons, is reported to have said, 'When war comes, you must draw the sword and then throw away the scabbard.' The trouble with television is that it is rusting in the scabbard during a battle for survival." Is that it is rusting in the scabbard during okay, I'm terribly misquoting this, but you should just watch this film, Davan, you have no audio.
Yeah, don't rely on Murphy to act this movie out for you.
No, don't. No, there's far better actors who've already acted out this film, and you should absolutely watch this movie.
There are better actors within this united federation of podcasts. So.
Truth. Cinematography by Robert Elswis, edited by Stephen Maroney. Release date of October 7th, 2005, with a runtime of 93 minutes. Real short, real sweet. A budget of $7 million, and the most successful movie of the night. With
so inexpensive for these days.
With a box office of $54.6 million.
Now that's a profitable
huge
movie.
Return. That is a profitable movie. That is a profitable movie. So yeah.
All right. Rewatchability.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so good. Normally, this is the kind of movie where you'd probably want to take some time before watching it again, but not this one. Murphy watched it twice in succession.
Yeah, I legitimately I watched it one day and I was like, I don't know if I got this, and I was like, I need to watch it again, so I watched it the next morning, and I was more into it the second time watching it. I could see myself watching it again many times, honestly. It was just like, if this is, I don't know how many films George Clooney's directed, but this is probably his best film. Even George Clooney is like, this is my best film ever.
I think he directed that one that he also starred in. What was it, like Syriana or something like that?
Well, that's the thing. Apparently, he got the so he was supposed to have somebody do the cinematography for this film, but they couldn't do it, so he actually had the cinematography for Syriana come in and do this film, which was pretty killer. So yeah, I would definitely agree for rewatchability. Does this film hold up? I would say yes, without a shadow of a doubt. This film holds up, and it's
Without
gonna
a
hold up.
shadow.
This film not only does it hold up, it's going to hold up for another 50 years, if not more. Like this is like a film
This
you
could
should
be a
watch in
timeless
history
classic.
class. Yeah, it's
For as far
supreme.
as like historical kind of set pieces go. Like,
Their ability to like meld history and the modern era of film together was just done so seamlessly and so well executed that it's like, as a filmmaker, I was like well done, like truly, like.
And as a history buff, it did the same for me. I was just like, damn it, you nailed it. It's like
I went into this movie with very low, I'm gonna be bored out of my skull, I think I picked a bad movie expectations, only to come out being like, oh, this movie's actually supremely good and probably the best movie I've picked so far on this podcast. So
oh wow, yeah. Oh, the best movie you've picked, yeah. You picked some stinkers. No offense. Let me see. We do have a chart. Hold on now. Well, yeah. So we both agree this one holds up. Let's quickly do our television movie rankings. I think we know what we're gonna say. For me, it's Good Night and Good Luck. Stay tuned and UHF.
Yeah, that's Good Night, Good Luck, UHF, and stay tuned.
Thought you might. I thought you might. All right. Well, let's bring this up here. We have our new sheet. Sam, you'll be proud. We have another chart. You love our charts.
Yeah, we got a chart made just for you, Sam. This is
for you, Sam.
It's for you.
It's for you, Sammy boy. All right. So, look, most of we've got a lot of A movies. It's not the majority of movies, but we've got more A movies than B's or C's. In fact, C movies have the least amount. So we're not overly critical here. But yes, stay tuned and good night and good luck. Can you see this, Murphy?
Yeah.
You can see that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So good night and good luck. Stay tuned. Join the A column. UHF
I feel
over
like
there
Stay
in the B
Tuned should
column.
be a B movie because it's. But like, I get that I said
Me
it
too.
holds up, so it's a stay movie.
But it does hold. It's actually pretty good. It's more like an A minus.
It's an A minus film. Yes, I will. It's an A minus film. And I feel like
we've had a few B pluses. We've had a few caveats. We don't write that down, but
UHF
within these categories, there are better movies than others for sure.
UHF's a B plus. Don't listen to what he says.
God, it's like a C plus. But yeah, so do you really think so? Of all these A movies here in this chart, do you think Good Night and Good Luck is your favorite, or just your favorite of the ones you picked?
I mean, out of the A charts, yeah, Good Night and Good Luck is my favorite.
Like it better than Werewolf by Night, which you loved.
Yeah, no, supremely much.
Like it better than Matinee?
Yes.
Okay, wow. So this is like your favorite movie on the podcast so far, and you didn't even like it the first time you watched it.
Is this? Yeah, I suppose this probably is my favorite movie on the podcast, next to like UHF, which is just pure nostalgia, and I would say Tokyo Godfathers and Doctor Strangelove.
Dr. Strangelove's
and North
probably
by
my
Northwest
favorite
too.
on this list. And Matinee, I love Matinee.
If I had to pick top three, Good Night, Good Luck, North by Northwest, and Doctor Strangelove. Those are the top three for me so far. Well, you know what?
We're gonna do a season-ending special where we'll talk
a review show, if you will, with hopefully some special guests if they're available. I think that'll.
Oh, they'll be available.
We'll make it so.
Make me shake my fist faster and higher. They'll be there. Two great fans of this show. That
we're doing good time tonight. We might be able to get out of this real quick here. Should we wrap this up?
Oh, yeah,
Let
we can
people
get out
know
of here.
about our federation.
Good time. We're almost at 3 hours. Anyway.
I mean, it could be worse. We could be over 3. So, I mean, you know what? Next episode will be even better. I'm going to stick to the brief written
we're getting there.
and we'll be fine.
Yep. All right. Well, we're a member of a united federation of podcasts. You may not know this, but it's true. It's very true. Look at the banner
It's
to
very
prove it.
united.
See? Yeah. So, well, sometimes I get a little snippy.
You're the cold splash of water in all of our face.
I am the cold splash of water in the face of the UFP. Exactly right. We get a lots of dreamers here, and every now and then they need a dose of reality, but that's fun.
Hey!
Jaemeel, did you hear us just talking about the review special at the end of the season? That's you and Andre going to come on and talk to us about the whole season 1.
He's volunteered you. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah, I volunteered you.
Well, you know what? It's fair because the true currency spare change has been lagging behind. I have been making my notes and making my clips. Unfortunately, I've been running the Super Mater Brothers this week and last week, so I've been a little bit busy. That and baking pies and doing podcasts.
Jaemeel, is UHF a good movie?
Okay.
Is it offensive?
Okay, so those are two different questions with two different answers.
Okay.
Is UHF is UHF a good movie? It is a movie.
It's a movie.
It is.
I guess
it's one that I can sit down and enjoy. So if someone were to ask me, is it a good movie? It's like that's not the point of the movie.
No.
Right? The point of the movie is to kind of just chuckle at how ridiculous it is. Right? Is it offensive? Oh, yes, it is offensive.
Me? Murphy, it's terribly offensive. Murphy's like, how is it offensive? I'm like, are we watching the same movie?
It's offensive. But that's okay. Offensive. That's okay. Blazing Saddles is offensive. Right?
True.
All right. So.
Which, like, if we do Westerns, we should throw that one on the list, just saying.
Have you seen Blazing Saddles?
I've never honestly seen Blazing
Saddles. Oh, dude. Get ready. Buckle up. Because a lot of that does not play nowadays with today's sensibilities. Sorry, I just kind of jumped in right after we finished Super Mater Brothers. Where are you all? I hate to think you've been going on for 241. So
we're done. We were just
done?
doing
we
the.
Just finished.
We're at X-rated the X-Men. The plugs.
Oh, awesome. So okay, let me do a plug. Folks, who are watching Hold Up, watch more Hold Up. There are past episodes for you to watch, and definitely they're worthwhile. Even last week's episode, which I have a lot of thoughts.
Really?
Last episode, I have a lot of thoughts.
Who needs a talking to, me or Murphy?
Both of you, Mr. Who's that guy, aka Lane Smith, and what? You don't like Breaking Bad, Chris Murphy?
Oh yeah, Murphy yelling at me for a half hour about Breaking Bad.
Literally,
I heard you weren't a fan, Jaemeel. It broke my heart.
I'm not a fan of Breaking Bad. I'm not a fan.
It's not good.
Don't get me started.
It's like it's like a show that's pretending it's good, just like Weird Al's pretending he's funny.
Okay, I will defend Weird Al. I am a big fan of Weird Al. I've seen him live. I love a lot of his discography. I feel that he takes himself too much of a joke sometimes because he does have talent and he plays off his skills as a joke, which is kind of offensive when you like him a lot. So there's that. But once again, spare change is coming. Let's leave some on the ground for everyone to pick up later on.
Love it.
So
the reason I'm looking forward to this season-ending special is it's just going to be like 2 hours of you and Andre telling me and Murphy what idiots we are.
I'm getting the clips already.
Yeah, I'm basically ready.
I didn't understand how you didn't get the ending of Network at all. Didn't make any sense to me.
Wait, who?
Huh?
Wait, me?
Both of you. Both of you did not get the ending of Network.
What happened at the end that we didn't get?
You spare change. Sorry, spare change.
All right,
fair
enough.
Fair enough.
We got some spare change coming where Jaemeel explains all the mistakes we made.
Spare change and some receipts coming our way.
We need this. Yeah,
Yes.
it's true.
So what's up? What's next? X-rated. You talked about that great show.
X-rated. Yeah. Oh my God, go back and watch yesterday's episode if you want to see.
I tuned in halfway through, and I could tell you were hammered. I was like, "Oh my God, he's tipped over."
He's the culprit.
Some Guinness.
Yeah. No, some JP Weiser's Deluxe.
Ooh,
nothing too fancy.
Okay.
I drank all my fancy birthday whiskey long before this. Well, this is birthday whiskey too. It's not the fanciest of the birthday whiskey.
I haven't tried that before. I'll check that out. I'll make a note.
Oh, Weiser's is good. It's for like a cheaper whiskey. Weiser's.
There's nothing wrong with cheap.
No. So yeah, check that out. Where it was Proteus Part 1. At some point, the whiskey takes over as the hosting duties instead of me. And then the show goes for like it was as long as this. We just talked about 3 movies. We talked about a 22-minute cartoon for this long yesterday.
You can see Andre's struggle in the podcast.
Oh yeah, the first thing I this morning I look at my phone and it's a message from Andre. He's like, "How you feeling this morning?" I'm like, yeah.
It's great.
The funniest thing though is we got to our X points, and I say my X point, my second X point. And then by the time we've got to the 4th X point, I had already forgotten that I did the same X point for my second X point, and I'm saying the same X point again, and Andre's just like, "You said that when I'm already," and I like start arguing with him. I'm like, "No, I didn't," and I say the whole thing again. And then when I woke up this morning, the first thing I thought to myself was like, "Oh no, I forgot to talk about that Greek mythology X point," even though I had done it twice. I still thought I hadn't even done it. So I transcended. I went to the friggin' Shadow Realm and the Promised Land, everything last night on X-Rated.
Needless to say, it's an episode of X-Rated that shouldn't be missed.
Yes.
Yeah. The next holdup will be on the internet with hackers.
Yes, love it.
The net.
And Guns
Akimbo.
Yes.
I've never.
So Zero Bird. We're gonna see Zero Bird in action. Fisher Stevens not playing an Indian dude. That's great.
We got a couple of guests for this episode. A couple of buddies of mine. Very funny fellows.
Podcast, horror podcast.
No. These guys aren't in my podcast. These are just my ping pong buddies from back home. We grew up together. You know
that looks like it's going to be a really good a really good episode. I already love 2 out of 3 movies. One I haven't seen. I've been meaning to. It's been on my list for a while.
2 of them I haven't seen.
Really?
It's been a long time since I've seen Hackers. It's been a long time, but I have seen Hackers. But it's been a long time.
There's a movie on this list. I haven't seen any of them.
Murphy,
Hackers.
You work.
Hackers is a friggin' time capsule of that era of friggin' internet.
Dude. Oh my gosh, Murphy.
He's a young man, Jaemeel. He's a young man.
I guess.
I'm gonna be 37 tomorrow.
Which that doesn't make any sense. How you've never seen Hackers before?
Just never appeared, never
somebody who's
Angelina Jolie in the height of her powers.
Height of her powers, like before the beginning of her powers.
Isn't Matthew Lillard in this film too?
Yeah, Matthew Lillard, Fisher Stevens.
I do love me some Matthew Lillard.
What, you don't love Fisher Stevens? Sorry, apologize for that. You don't love Fisher Stevens?
I don't know Fisher Stevens.
Okay, I'll name off 2 movies from Fisher Stevens, and you tell me who he plays.
Okay.
Short Circuit and Short Circuit 2.
Oh, he's the robot.
Okay.
I don't know if I saw Short Circuit 2.
Short Circuit 2 is the superior one. You don't get to see Steve Guttenberg get outacted by a robot.
So it's the Gremlins 2 of Short Circuit movies?
Sure.
I don't agree with that, Jaemeel.
Fisher Stevens.
That was slander.
Fisher Stevens dons brown face to play an Indian man.
Oh my god!
In both Short Circuit and Short Circuit 2.
Oh, Fisher Stevens. Oh, that guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh. You better not have a theme where I can
They should have cast him in UHF.
Hey, if there's a slot for Short Circuit 2, I'm putting it in there.
All right. Well, there's robots.
Oof.
We have a robots theme coming next season.
Yeah. Okay. Continue on. Graphics history.
Graphic histories. You guys are wrestling fans, yeah?
Yes.
We are.
Next interview is with Kurgan of WWE fame, Robert Maillet.
Yes.
And also many fine acting roles as well.
Like
I
300.
briefly met that man. I briefly met Kurgan at HalCon, Halifax Comic Convention. It was like the first HalCon. He was in an elevator. He's a very tall and a very nice man.
Took up the entire elevator.
Yeah, took up the entire elevator. No word of a lie. I was like, oh my god, that's Kurgan from what was their team? It was like
the Oddities.
Like Sean, the Oddities. Yeah. I was like, it's Kurgan from the Oddities. that was my like mental. I was like, oh god. So yeah, no, he was great. And a perfect segue for wrestling. We got a wrestling trivial debates actually coming up. April 1st. I'll be hosting with Jaemeel being a contestant. Andre Mayette, who's actually a pro wrestling old school Andre Mayette, and the introduction of Jason R. Phillips from Hey, Do You Know That One podcast. He's stepping in. He's also
okay. I feel bad. I've been calling him Ryan, and whoever that guy is, I'm going to crush him. In all the plugs I've had this week. So Jason from
Hey, Did You Know That One podcast, where these guys will spend like 3 hours talking about one movie, which is pretty funny in my opinion.
Yeah, because we think we're long-winded here. So what's going on over at Super Mater Brothers, Jaemeel?
Well, we did Big Brother earlier this week, and we did Survivor tonight, and we're doing another episode of Big Brother. Dave is away, so I'm running the ship, and you know what that means? All episodes are under an hour. We hit it and quit it, right?
There you go.
If you want a long-winded episode, Dave
Dave's
is
in Jamaica. Back. He's hitting it too. Don't worry.
Oh, yes. I just hit my my headphones out of it. That exclamation.
Also, KBBBL podcast every Friday. We're on, what are we at? Simpson and Delilah this Friday. We were off last week for technical difficulties. But we're back with Simpson and Delilah. Great episode.
Give me a heads up on my episodes coming up too. So I would pick the Daredevil Bard episode where he jumps the cliff and shit.
Oh yeah, I think that's like next season. That's not for a while yet.
I think it's season 3, yeah.
That answers your question, Sam, if I'm ever going to be on KBBBL.
Oh yeah, Sam didn't want to know that. There you go, Sam, if you're still here. And also, do I have more podcasts? You bet I do, because I'm a content machine. And Locutors of Trek, though we haven't done much there quite recently, but there's exciting things brewing at Locutors of Trek Day right now. We're gonna in the science division we have an all ladies edition of Debate 9 coming up. Oh, that's gonna be
nice.
Fun.
Sisters are doing it for themselves. Women are getting it done.
Yes, they are. About time.
Yeah,
about time.
Even hosted by a lady or you?
No. Host Ashley Millard. She's already a Locutors of Trek host. She can handle it.
Fabulous.
I'll be there producing, but I will not be on screen or saying anything.
Will Worf be there?
Worf might say some stuff.
Speaking of Worf, we got some Star Trek reviews on Live Long and Podcast. We're doing Picard tomorrow. I'll be taking over the helm for Captain Dave. I'll be doing the hosting for that episode. Will I be seeing either of you fellas there tomorrow at all? Do I know?
I'll be there. I
might make an appearance.
This season's amazing.
Yeah,
I might make an appearance. I've been keeping keeping up with this season, and all the Bourne action that we're getting.
All the Space and Bourne action.
One Space and Bourne scene.
Oh no, there's more. I'm doing my own cut right now. I'm doing my own cut.
Spare change. Wait for it.
No, this one's I'm gonna give it directly to the World Mind himself, so he can put up on the Live Long and Podcast TikTok for all your wonderful meme, your Davan approved meme needs. That's
the only memes I approve of is on my Simpsons podcast. And the odd Star Trek one, usually to do with Cisco or Worf or Garrick.
So
Fair
join
enough.
us tomorrow for Picard podcast or Picard episode review. Hopefully, Davan can come in and tell me why I'm terrible with the rankings of these episodes. Why I feel there's more to offer.
You're the cold splash of water on that Picard podcast. Drinking that, but it's more like cold splash of haterade.
There's no haterade. I'm being very I feel like the later episodes are going to be more, and I don't want to be wasting my 10s on the early.
Yeah, but you can't base your rating off speculation.
Well, I'm willing to change my ratings proactively if ultimately the whole season lands on its feet. Then I'm willing to
Oh, they give me shit for changing my ratings. I do it all the time. And people are like, oh, classic Davan changing his ratings. I'm like, well, sometimes it needs to be done. Also, the Hellbound podcast, they just put out an episode called Cronenberg, where in classic Hellbound podcast style, they probably talk about Cronenberg for a couple minutes.
They talk more about donuts than anything.
Yeah, that's the Hellbound podcast. It's a great podcast. I listen to it, but talk about horror a whole lot.
I did enjoy Michael Chan's sort of examination on what roles actors are comfortable to play and stuff like that. It was really interesting to hear and stuff. We're a great podcast.
Episode.
Check it.
Listen, it is a great podcast.
Yeah, it's a good podcast. I'm gonna share some of Michael didn't want me to release it anymore. The Euro trip. I'm gonna share it internally, where we basically two podcasts dedicated to Euro trip. Two podcasts. Michael, Michael, Jessica, and myself, young in Dundas Square, in the middle of a food court, talking about Euro trip for 2 episodes.
Oh my god! Do you hear the food court in the background?
There's some ambient noise.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm down. I'll listen to it for sure. Well, that's us. That's the United Federation of Podcasts. We might as well get out of here. Thanks for stopping by, Jaemeel. Always good to see you.
Always a pleasure. Trying to make sure that we hit 3 hours every single time.
Exactly.
You've
done your job.
We were on time. We were gonna. I was pushing for 2:40 at that.
No, we were at an hour, and Murphy was still talking about Weird Al, and I'm like, this podcast is gonna.
What's your favorite Weird Al song, Davan?
None.
Yeah, give us your favorite Weird Al song. There must be one that you actually kind of enjoy.
I don't know what, I'm Fat, or Amish Paradise. I don't know. They're not good.
Really?
I don't know if I could pick one.
Wow,
I haven't heard a whole lot of Weird Al because I don't enjoy it. I don't
his original stuff is I feel his original stuff is a lot more interesting, honestly.
Probably is. But the only Weird Al I saw was the stuff they put up on Much Music or whatever, because I'm not gonna put on a Weird Al album.
Oh, that's fair enough. Well, I think you've put up with us enough. We're going to call it here at Hold Up, the movie podcast. We want to thank you for joining us for these movies about television. And next week, we're going to be covering movies on the internet. So enjoy those in the coming attractions. And as always, enjoy the movies. And good night and good luck.
Hackers!
The world we know is the world they inhabit.
Dave?
Yeah, Mom?
What are you doing?
I'm taking over a TV network.
Well, finish up, honey, and get to sleep.
They're cool.
Hackers penetrate and ravage private and publicly owned computer systems.
Hack the planet!
It's not just something they do.
Sure this sweet machine's not going to waste?
Are you challenging me?
It's who they are.
I win, you wear a dress on our date.
And if I win, so do you.
They can crack any code. And get inside any system.
Hello?
Mr. Gill, according to our records, you're dead.
I'm what?
But this time,
Come here, look at this.
It's some kind of virus.
Unless $5 million is transferred to the following account, I will capsize 5 oil tankers.
they just hacked the wrong
That's
guy.
the environment, you dick.
Need somebody to take the fall.
He's about to commit the perfect computer crime.
You've created a virus that's going to cause a worldwide disaster?
And they're about to take the blame.
A hacker planted the virus. But it's the perfect cover.
We're being framed.
Can we be allies? I don't play well with others.
Oh, wow, we are fried.
Okay, let's nail it.
No, you're not good enough to beat me.
Yeah, maybe I'm not, but we are.
They're the only ones who can prevent a catastrophe.
I know how to stop this guy. They'll trace you like that.
Are you nuts? Come at me! Unlike any
Come at
the
me,
world
bro.
has ever seen.
Never send a boy to do a woman's job.
Hackers of the world unite.
Cops on the building. I need more time.
This is the end, my friend. United Artists welcomes you to the new world. Hackers.
Online this summer.
Except online was 2 words, which it never is anymore.
I feel like this is going to be the worst.
Age of information.
We're sitting on the most perfect beach in the world, and all we can think about is whether...
Where can I hook up my bottom?
Every trace of our existence is computerized. Everything about
I don't know. This is the peak of Sandy Bull's powers.
complex network of information.
No, her Wonder Woman pilot was.
Yes.
That's prophetic as fuck.
Computer analyst Angela Bennett was just doing her job
God.
when she stumbled onto something
What is this?
she never should have seen.
I plugged it in and I'm staring at the personal medical files of the Undersecretary of Defense, Michael Bergstrom.
Someone's tapped into the system.
How long would it take to track her?
Depends on how long she stays online.
Something
Why would anybody want to do any of this?
that reaches farther than she could ever imagine.
They hacked into computers and they caused this chaos. Wall Street,
The market panicked as officials suspended trading.
the Department of Water and Power in Atlanta, LAX.
We've lost radar contact.
Now
It's finally gone.
they're manipulating her world.
We can make it reality. What we choose.
According to the Department of Motor Vehicles, you're Ruth Marks.
They've screwed with my information and my fingerprints. I don't understand. Why me?
Infiltrating her life.
Find whoever she's been speaking to.
No, he was not a diabetic. Where?
And erasing her identity.
We've got an outstanding warrant for Ruth Marks on federal charges.
I am Angela Bennett.
Just give us the disc and we'll give you your life back.
She has the evidence,
She's copied the disc.
Clever girl.
but they have the power. This summer, Sandra Bullock is caught in the net. A film by Irwin Winkler.
Oh, the Fonz.
No, that's Henry Winkler. Trust me, I'm old.
Someone's trying to kill me! Please, go drive now!
I'm Miles, and this is the story of the worst day of my life.
I still feel like this is going to be a mispick that's not about the internet.
Schism picked random psychos, weirdos, and criminals and
You're
made them
muted, Nick.
fight each other to the death. So the internet loved it.
There you go.
Okay,
And
maybe
then
it is
I
about
came
the
into the
internet.
picture.
All right.
You scared yet? Welcome to Schism.
My friend Allison
They
highly
bolted these things to my
recommended
hand. They have my girlfriend. And some psycho is trying to kill me. I'm not a fighter. I'm a nobody. Hey, I need help.
Oh, it's one thing to say you can't face violence, but when it faces you, you better be ready. When the shit goes down, you better be ready. You better be ready.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Stop shooting at me! I gotta kill you. Schism said they would wipe my slate clean.
No, Schism is gonna kill us both. I have a plan. It is totally suicidal, but it might work.
Get out of the car, please. Come on. Please get out. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Oh, of course.
Did he not drop the guns? I don't get it. If they're just stuck to his hands or some shit? That's kind of dumb. We'll see.
Did I win?